He don't trade, he seduces the market.
Champagne in one hand, options in the other. Got your mama trading crypto while he flirts with her mother. Oh, silk collar wide, he glide. He took your girl and your games on the same damn ride. Ha! Money do a backflip when he blinks. Whisper stock tips between his drinks. Sip that bitch. He ain't a trader, baby. He's a financial disease. Spreading gains through your wallet like a funky striptease. Crime and son Kohrs. Ooh, that man's illegal in 12 states. Crime and son Kohrs. He trade like he's sinning, baby. Crime and son Kohrs. Pulling profit like Danny, smooth and fast. Crime and son Kohrs. Velvet crying in a bubble bath, soft ass. Velvet Kohrs talk sweet, but he's soft like foam. Tryna front with a flute while I own the trombone. Blow something, Velvet. He walk in, folks yawn. I strut in, alarms going off till dawn. Velvet's rhymes more like thrift store flair. I'm first class funk with the Wall Street stare. Check the wrist, baby. He out here begging for clicks and applause. I'm making more green than Santa Claus. Big stocks, big belt, big motherfucking attitude. Making more noise than me and your girl on your honeymoon. Velvet out here looking like expired lube. While Crimson pump it raw. No YouTube. Ladies, I'm looking for a girl who can ride the dip and make it drip. I don't just buy low, I go real deep. Pump, 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 pump it up. Ooh, pump, 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 pump it up. Yeah, baby. Pump, 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 pump it up. Ooh, pump, 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 pump it up. Yeah, baby. Crimson. He don't trade, he seduces them digits. Velvet still trying to lease his motherfucking widgets. He the chop daddy, the bear killer. Velvet's just noise. Crimson's the thriller.
Oh, brother, oh, brother, oh, brother. Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Matt Kohrs Show. It is a beautiful Tuesday, September the 9th, and even though we're not really set up for a turnaround Tuesday, I think just emotionally we all can kind of still like hope for that, the fact that we just want things to explode today. It's not like yesterday was some sort of catastrophic sell-off or anything like that, but I think we're all ready for new all-time highs. It's been a couple days. The last time we hit an all-time high was Friday, and I think that we've waited Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think 3 days of waiting is enough, and we're ready for now a new all-time high. So there really hasn't been much development between yesterday's market close and right now, but there's one major thing that I really, really need to point out to you, and it's this entire discussion yesterday where I was like, okay, it seemed like a little bit of a stretch of like, oh, there's a 10% chance of a 50 bips rate cut. Well, also yesterday, the most prolific bettor on Poly Market, where you can bet on certain events, he bet a little bit of money. Granted, it was a lot relative to most people. It was $15,000, but it was relatively small to his account. He bet that there's going to be a 50 bips rate cut, which is kind of interesting. But once again, the odds weren't that impressive. But sometime between last night and this morning, the odds of a rate cut has absolutely skyrocketed. In fact, it's doubled. It's gone from 10% to 20%. So if you're looking at the betting markets right now of like, oh man, like why are the odds of a 25 bips rate cut dropping? Are we not getting a 25 bips rate cut? It's kind of a mathematical sleight of hand, but no, obviously the odds are dropping as the odds are increasing for a 50 bips rate cut, which is really setting us up for an interesting day tomorrow, but more so an interesting day on Thursday. Obviously, I'll be going over this in the full morning prep, but what you need to know is PPI report an hour before the market opens tomorrow. CPI report, consumer price index, coming out an hour before the market opens on Thursday. And I'm actually already getting alerts on my end. What just happened? the market. Hang on, hold your horses. Alerts are going off. Oh, shout out to Adventure Joe for sent one Macwor's show gift membership. Looks like Queen 88 was the winner. That's awesome. Very cool. Something just dipped earlier this morning. Was there a piece of breaking news? What just happened? I have alerts going off. Financial juice. What just happened? Something had to happen. What was this? 3 minutes ago, ECB Forex reserves rose. ECB bond holding. ECB settled. ECB blah, 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 blah. Effective funds rate. Red book year over year. Italy's something jobs report. No, it's Tuesday. We don't get jobs reports on a Tuesday. I'm not seeing anything quite hit the line. Obviously, if there's a piece of news that just the jobs, those jobs numbers are off. Oh, I thought you were talking about the initial jobs reports. We do have the normal initial jobless claims on Thursday. What jobs? Good morning, Israel. Official explosion in Qatar's Doha targets Hamas officials. BOL jobs revisions down. Whatever it was, something literally just hit the tape as we've been talking. You could see here on the 1 minute, literally just hit at 9:04, which is a very strange time. I don't think this is a scheduled data drop. The fact that it's at 9:04 tells me that something else is going on, but we'll dive into it. But anyway, what you need to know is right now we were green in pretty much all of post and pre-market. Now we're slightly on the red side while the Qs are pretty much at break even. So really overall, like relative to where we just were, it's a bit of a hit, which is a bit of a bummer. And actually the Qs are speeding up a little bit here. But what really matters is from 9:30 to 4. So I wouldn't be freaking out at some pre-market bar like this. So if anything, let's spend some time properly prepping for today. Stock futures tick higher as NASDAQ, tries to build on record. Do you think they made the intern at CNBC already update it? Nope, they didn't. They're too slow to update it. They got to get that intern actually working. Traders see a chance the Fed cuts by 0.5 point. So this is the big news that's developed basically over the past 24-ish hours, a little bit less. In the most likely scenario being priced in by markets, the Fed on September 17th, not this week, but next week, will lower the overnight Fed funds rate by 25 basis points. So basically going from 4.25 down to 4%. That is the likely scenario as of now. But the one thing that can really change this is the inflation report. Really, there are two, PPI and CPI, but everyone cares about the CPI. However, traders left open a remote chance that the central bank's Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC, that's why it's the FOMC meeting, still could enact a 0.5 point reduction. This very much, like I want to be clear here, has been picking up steam pretty much since midday yesterday till this morning. Before that, the odds of this were very low. People weren't paying attention to it. But now all of a sudden, heads are starting to turn. Fed officials will get inflation data later this week on producer and consumer prices. The last major data releases before the meeting, higher than expected CPI would likely cement a 0.25 point move. So to explain what is going on here, remember, in the world of monetary policy, in the world of the Fed, they care about two things and two things exclusively: price stability, inflation, 2% longer term target, and then jobs market. They want to keep the strongest jobs market they possibly can. Those two things are commonly at odds with each other. As you are jacking up the Fed fund rate to fight inflation, that generally is weakening the jobs market. As you put in lower Fed funds rate to make capital more accessible, you're going to help the jobs market as capital becomes more accessible, obviously, but that's going to cause inflation to go the other way. So it's a balancing act between those two. So what this final line here means is basically going into this, we already know we have some weak jobs numbers. Over the past month, you could argue 2 months, we're starting to see the initial cracks in the foundation of the strength of our labor market. And to the point that the Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, has even said, hey, when we consider the two risks, like out of our dual mandate, which one's at more risk? His recent commentary at Jackson Hole Symposium was like, okay, we actually think it's about to switch where where, yes, inflation's not exactly what we need it to be, but we do believe that maybe the risk is actually now becoming a little bit more serious on the job market. So ever since the world heard that, they're like, cool, we're going to start getting Fed rate cuts and we're going to go down and down and down. So that's one side to consider. We are getting weaker than expected jobs numbers. For this to actually happen for us, where we're like, okay, are we getting a 25 bips rate cut or a 50 bips rate cut? The next thing we have to consider is inflation, which once again, we get the producer price index report tomorrow, which is probably less important. It's still important, but less important than the consumer price index, that report that we are getting this Thursday. So in 2 days, if that report comes out hotter than expected, we're kind of screwed. And maybe we get no rate cut, but most likely still a 25 bips rate cut. If we get a at expectation CPI report, that's going to then depend on kind of really the numbers underneath, like what's going on under the hood, and we'll have to dive into the report. However, if we get a cooler than expected inflation report, as in our jobs market is weakening and inflation is still coming down lower than we expected, that's when you're going to see the odds of a 50 bips rate cut really start to spike. And what's interesting is we're already seeing this trend. So if I go over to the past day, you can see right here, the chance of a 25 bips rate cut. At one point, it was 86, 87. We're dropping a little bit. It got down to 79, 78, as the odds of a 50 bips rate cut is going up from 10 to right now 17. A little bit earlier today, it was at 19. So literally overnight, the odds of a 50 bip rate cut pretty much doubling from 10 to 20. And we're also seeing that on call sheet as well. You could see, can I zoom in a little bit more? One day right here. You can see not that long ago, we were, 11. And as of right now, it's 17. At one point, it was up at 18.8. And same thing, the odds of a 25 bips rate cut going from about 87 to now about 78. So is it the most like insane, impactful numbers? No, I'm not saying it's like a 50-50 shot, but I'm just kind of pointing out the trend and the fact that it's doubled. It's gone from 10 to 20 overnight. And then this has all simultaneously been happening while bonds are ripping. I feel like no one's really paying attention to the fact that TLT, this is the 20-year bond. Remember, bonds and yields move inversely of each other. As bond prices go up, yields come down. As yields go down, bond prices go up. As yields go up, bond prices go down. So if you look at this, this is the 20-year bond price. So if you look at the 20-year yield, you're going to notice that it's absolutely plummeting right now. And then if you look at the 10-year yield, pretty much the same thing. The O2Y, the 2-year yield is the one that the Fed mostly has an impact on. We're seeing yields drop and bond prices finally start to show a little bit of life. Actually, this is the most life bond prices have showed maybe ever since like mid-April, when we realized the bottom of the trade war was in, and maybe we're going to start to have a bit of a bigger run, but we're clearly at some sort of like evident shift right now. So I just want to call that out, obviously, with prep work heading into remainder of this week, where PPI report tomorrow, 8:30. We're also getting the 10-year note auction. And then on Thursday, September 11th, we're going to be getting the interest rate decision, but not from the U.S. It's from our counterpart over there, the ECB, the European Central Bank. And then a little bit after that, we're getting the CPI report, which is probably more important than the PPI, but obviously pay attention to both. We'll also be getting the initial jobless claims. And then later on in the day, Thursday, we're going to be getting the 30-year bond auction. For whatever reason, investing.com isn't showing it on Friday, but on Friday at 10 a.m., we're getting the Michigan numbers, we're getting the consumer sentiment, and then also Michigan's like inflation expectations. So basically, the rest of this week is where all the major stuff is loaded up. Monday and today, I'm kind of expected, a little bit of chop up, a little bit of chop down. If you want to do some scalp trading, congrats. If you want to sell a little bit of premium, congrats. But the real moves are most likely going to be loaded up in the latter half of this week, starting tomorrow. Now, coming back to the actual Fed Watch tool. So as of this moment, for the September 17th meeting, so not this week, but next week, that's next Wednesday, basically a week and a day, we're at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, we're going to find out what are they doing. As of right now, according to the Fed Watch tool, 88% chance of a 25 bips rate cut, 12% chance of a 50 bips rate cut. But what I find interesting here is if you fast forward all the way to December, if it's letting me, okay, it's not letting me. Something's up with their website. Maybe I could just reload it. When I was looking at it this morning, as you get later out into this calendar year, Well, now the website's just completely frozen. I guess you'll have to take my word for it, or you could just fact check me later. But as you get into the December meeting, so basically 3 meetings from now, the odds of 75 bips rate cut is starting to jump up, especially as we're seeing bond prices go higher. So obviously, I just want to put that on your radar. That's going to be the major narrative driving the overall market right now. So obviously, worthwhile to pay attention to. Treasury Secretary Bessent warns of massive refunds if the Supreme Court voids Trump tariffs. So this is going to be the next important chapter. Basically, we got to get through the inflation report right now. Then we have to get through the FOMC meeting. And then as we head into October, potentially November, really, we might have that. Really, wow. That could be setting up in an interesting way. Because remember, there's still 2 more FOMC meetings this year after the September one. And this one, this idea of maybe the Supreme Court ruling one way or the other of are Trump's reciprocal tariffs legal or are they illegal? This might be sandwiched right in the middle. So right now, the narrative isn't, we're not really sensing it quite yet in the markets, but it is something that it just seems like it's going to end up being very, very important. So as of now, to my current understanding, we probably won't at the earliest find out anything until November, but obviously I do want to put it on your radar. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who is the guy who just made Bill Pulte his absolute bitch. Shout out to all of you guys who watched those videos yesterday, the update video yesterday. One of the craziest stories that I've read in politics, definitely with relation to the Trump administration right now, which is insane because I know there's a lot of crazy stories, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Treasury Secretary basically went to the U.S. Housing Finance Director, Bill Pulte, who's an absolute leech scumbag, just trust fund baby of a human being, no backbone at all. Basically, he got his ass handed to him at a dinner by the Treasury Secretary, and it just feels like we're back, you know? It feels like we're back to, like, wasn't it Hamilton who at one point was like the Treasury Secretary or something like that? And he got into a duel. I think that's actually how he died. I don't know. I never saw the play. But it feels like we're kind of back to what these guys should be doing. Anyway, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said he's confident President Donald Trump's tariff plan will win at the Supreme Court, but warned the U.S. would be forced to issue massive refunds if it loses. National Economic Director Kevin Hassett noted that there are other legal authorities that the administration could use if the tariffs are blocked. Before court action, Trump's tariffs were set to affect nearly 70% of U.S. goods imports. What I don't understand is I'm actually surprised they're a circuit judge could actually rule them to be illegal. I, up until this moment, truly thought when we're talking about national level tariffs, that was decided by the president and his administration. The fact that a circuit judge can get involved in this, I guess I just find it surprising. And who knows, maybe they can't, and that's what the Supreme Court's about to rule. But the fact that it's even somewhat like in question, I guess I just find it slightly shocking. Potential Trump tariff refund bill could top $1 trillion as Supreme Court fight looms. So obviously, we're not talking about millions. We're not talking about billions. We are, in fact, talking about trillions with the T. So this could definitely get spicy. 2 federal courts have found that many of the steep emergency tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump are illegal. Trump has asked the Supreme Court to revise those decisions. If the high court rules that Trump did not have the authority to impose those tariffs, the U.S. government could be obligated to refund importers anywhere from $750 billion to $1 trillion, according to the Treasury Secretary. What I don't get right here is he does not have the authority to impose tariffs. If he doesn't, quick question, who the fuck does? Like that, this is the one thing, and once again, I'm not a legal scholar. I'm not a lawyer. I find shocking. And this isn't specific to Trump. I would say this for any president. I just thought that's what presidents did. Like, if he doesn't have the authority, who in our country does have the authority? I need someone that has a better understanding of the legal system to explain that one to me, because I just don't get it. If he doesn't, who does? Who does? Who does? Who freaking does? All right. With respect to individual equities, I just want to let you know that Oracle and GameStop are reporting after the market closes today. Tomorrow morning, Chewy, and then on Thursday, Kroger and Adobe. So those are the ones that you might find a little bit of interest in. Once again, Oracle and GameStop today, Chewy tomorrow morning. Doesn't have earnings, but I don't know, something about Sam Altman and OpenAI, and I'm going to tell you, I use this daily. I use ChatGPT a lot. I use really a lot of these AI systems to make my life better, but still something. When I see this guy, when I hear him talk, when I look into his eyes, I'm seeing a dark, dark abyss, and something, I'm going to tell you, the guy gives me heebie-jeebies, and something is not right here. OpenAI executives rattled by campaigns to derail for-profit restructuring. Startups leaders discuss last-ditch prospect of leaving California if regulators complicate transition to a for-profit company. So this guy running OpenAI, Sam Altman, for the longest time, this was meant to be a nonprofit company, and their development in the world of AI was supposed to be shared with everyone. That's how they viewed their almost stewardship of artificial intelligence. And the fact that, well, to be fair, there's many things that strain his relationship, Sam Altman's relationship with Elon Musk, but arguably this is the biggest one. Elon Musk, one of the original funders of OpenAI, to the point that's even reported he named OpenAI because of many things, but the major one, their relationship fracturing, was all of a sudden not wanting to share their findings with the public and wanting to switch from a nonprofit to a profit business model. And I'm sure from there, it got very, very deep, and there's all these crazy stories, but basically all the head honchos at the company of OpenAI in one way or another have left, and they just say like things are kind of going crazy, and something's up. I hope what I in my sixth sense is picking up of being up is maybe in the best case scenario, he's just a greedy fuck who wants more money and whatever. If you come up with literal like life changing, like cultural changing software, great, congratulations. Okay, maybe you do deserve a lot of money, but I think that's the best case scenario. I can't put my finger on it, but something about his beady, it's just nothing's there. It is absolute, like something, there's no life in those eyeballs. Like, is he AI himself? Like, something's going on, and one of these days you guys are going to come back to this stream and you'll be like, dude, Matt was right all along. I don't know when we're going to get the information, but I deeply believe the best case scenario is that he's just a normal, greedy Silicon Valley guy. But the worst case scenario is I don't even know. I guess I'm praying for the best case, but we're going to find out. Big shift. I would argue it's pretty immoral when you start out with like one, I don't know, humanitarian-based mission, and you're like, nah, screw that. We're just going to now like go make money, but we'll find out. I guess we will find out. Nvidia's wow factor is fading. The AI chip giant gave Wall Street a long string of earnings beats, but its growth trajectory is coming down to earth. So what is the deal with Nvidia? And I also want to get your thoughts on it. So Nvidia, which was on a clear ripper from April all the way up until now, we double topped it in late August, and now we're starting to crack. Same highs. We're breaking the recent lows. The question is this a dip to be bought? So one of the major things is you can see it has more serious competition now. Avago, aka Broadcom, is putting in serious effort and moves to foster relationships, acquire talent, and build legit competition to Nvidia. So it's just there's more competition in the space. Actually, how's AMD doing? Even AMD is showing a little bit of weakness. So actually, right now, with respect to semiconductors, it is Broadcom, it is AVGO that is absolutely crushing. But I thought this was a little bit dramatic. Nvidia's wow factor is fading. Well, even right now, even as of market close, year to date, this thing is up 24%. To me, that's still kind of freaking impressive. And it's so interesting to me how if we rewound 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, everyone's still talking about how this is insane. And it's interesting to me how it's not just in the world of retail trading, but even in the world of media and reporting of how quickly people change. Like literally a week and a half, not even 2 weeks of a little bit of a drawdown. And even they're like, it's gone, guys. Just, geez, killed it. Like, just, it's done. Take her out back. Take old Yeller out back. You can't do it anymore. Like, it's just, to me, it's so emotional. It's so dramatic. Like, I'm going to laugh when this is the low Friday, September 5th, and this thing rips to 220, 225 in the next couple months, and we come back to this article and we're like, okay, yeah, just crushing it again, Wall Street Journal. Definitely not playing into like just general emotion because of one little red patch. Chill out. Look at what the wow factor has fade. Are we looking at the same fucking chart? The wow factor is trading like, I'm not even going back to the start of Rona period. This thing was at $14 adjusted. We're now at 170 in like 2 years. And they're like, nah, I guess it's wow factor is over. Like, come on. I don't know. I saw that this morning, and hey, maybe you're in here and you think it is, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that's the top and it pukes. Obviously that's a non-zero like probability. Like, I'll give that to you. But if you look at the weekly chart, like, is there a point where you're like, yeah, no, that was a good thing to bet against? Like, that I'm super happy I bet against Nvidia, because like generically looking at this chart, whether you should be a bull or a bear on Nvidia, it feels like the evidence is pretty strongly leaning to one side. So anyway, just my humble opinion. It's still in my long-term account, and I don't know if I'm necessarily worrying about this wow factor fading, because remember, in the next earnings, okay, you might be thinking like, Matt, you're speaking in 10,000 foot view language of just like, hey, like whatever, and whatever, markets change, companies change. Remember, the last earnings, which still beat on revenue, granted, it was a slight miss in data centers, that is not counting any numbers, any dollars, no dollars, $0, zilch dollars, goose egg dollars from China. Guess who's now allowed to start selling shit to China as they get a couple more of the regulatory things figured out? They have quarterly revenues bigger than many countries in this world, and they didn't even tap into China, dude. This whole wow factor fading thing, I don't know if they actually thought about anything before they wrote that article, but whatever. Just my humble opinion. If you haven't already, sign up for the newsletter. It's 100% free. It's always been free, always will be free. Every single Sunday to your email inbox, you get a cool AI-generated photo, a breakdown of the market, earnings, cheat sheet for all the major macroeconomic events, and most useful is the seasonality for each individual day. So over the past 27 years, this individual day has been neutral. Way back 30 years ago, it was flat. Then for a period, it was clearly bearish. And then I would argue over the past 8-ish years, it's actually been bullish. So it nets out to pretty much neutral. But if you put a particular bias on recent data, like if you weighed the recent data more, you would actually argue that this day is specifically bullish. For the remainder of the week, tomorrow, Wednesday, is bullish. Thursday's neutral. And then Friday, I would argue, is also bullish. So I just want to call that out there. But remember, you can sign up for the newsletter. My mom will drop it into chat. It's also in the description of the video. You don't have to pay anything. It'll just come to your email inbox every single Sunday, which then brings me to what in the world is going on today. So overall, the market is still strong. Higher highs, higher lows. SPX, same situation with NDX. NDX is currently still holding that breakout. And then even the small cap sector, even though it's not like the structure is different, it's actually getting quite close to an all-time high. For the longest time, I've had to tell you guys, okay, it's a local high, not an all-time high. But looking at the Russell, especially if we get that 50 bips rate cut, we might be talking about a new all-time high for the small cap sector. So that's the larger, situation. Drilling specifically into today, as I always do, I mark out the previous day's high, low, and close, the transition zone, the high and the low of 2 trading sessions ago. That's the green dash and the red dash, and then the yellow horizontal lines are the key open interest levels. So my bull case of the day would be a recapture of 6,500, a push above yesterday's high at 6,508. Then I want to see the key open interest level of 6,520, and then from there, there's quite a few bets right now at 6,540. The bear case scenario would be a rejection at 6,500, a failure at 6,495. Then we push all the way down to yesterday's low / transition zone right here around 6,480. Then there's some open interest at 6,475, and then unfortunately, there's not really much to catch it all the way down to 6,450. Personally, I am neutral leaning bullish, so I'm only looking advantage to take care of the bull case, or to take advantage of the bull case today. If it happens, great. And then if it doesn't, I'll just end up sitting on my hands all day today. Speaking of which, I just want to show you, I didn't trade anything this morning. I have all my Apex accounts. They're all up $7.4 thousand. I did blow up my take profits yesterday. Basically, I won on, well, the one system went weird in the morning, so then I tried to manually trade it back, and surprise, surprise, I went on tilt. So I'm starting fresh with those today, but I did do a lot of revisions to Icarus. I coded a lot last night. I coded a ton this morning. As you could tell, we have a lot more going on, so I'm hoping that this newest variant, basically, those things that I was telling you about, where I'm like, oh, darn, I wish like I had in the code to stop the trades if it's near a certain extreme, this, that, the other thing. Well, all of those updates have successfully been made. So today is basically the first day of the newest version of Icarus, and obviously I am very, very excited. And on that note, dingity ding ding ding, the world's largest casino is now open. Best of luck to all, play responsibly, and if not, have fun. All right, so let's see how this opens up. As always, I will be showing you the options flow. We're going to check that out. I'm going to be doing my best to be disciplined and not really rip any trades right out of the gate. I did find it interesting that at 904 the market dropped, but in reality, we just dropped to basically the closing value, so I don't think it's the end of the world. Bitcoin is looking good. I forgot to talk about that, but the daily chart looks like we officially have a higher low right here. So higher highs, higher lows. I think this goes without saying, but I'm obviously looking for a breakout of $113,480 because that would be confirmation of a switch from this recent bearish trend to a new bullish trend, literally just defining recent highs, recent lows. And for some reason that is not loading whatsoever, so you'll just have to take my word for it. But well, even that alert just didn't turn on. Something's going on with TradingView. I don't know, maybe I'm running too many things in the background. But from a swing perspective, inverse shoulder, head, shoulder, I'm looking for that breakout and the follow through. And then obviously the next technical level I would care about is 117.4 thousand, which would be another $4,000 gain from there to there. Percentage wise, that would be a push of 3.5%. Getting a breakout alert on Netflix right here. Actually, from a structural standpoint, not looking that different from Bitcoin right here. A little bit of a drawdown, higher highs, just putting in a higher low right now. And then that's what my alert was for on Netflix. A little bit of a drawdown. We start to push, a little fake out breakdown right here. We push, we pull back again, starting to show a little bit of strength. Actually, that looks good enough that it might warrant a little bit of a deeper dive here to see if we can find a superior risk to reward setup. So Netflix currently trading at 1,257. 1,257. Okay, so people are targeting 60, 70, 80. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. This might be more of a premium selling situation than a premium buying situation because there's resistance at 60, 70, and 80, while your support is at 45 and then all the way down at 1,200. Oh, that's a tough one. What is this? Well, hang on. That's interesting. So they sold these calls. Someone is long calls up to the 80s. But why would they do that? Why would they sell puts at 1280? What are all these positions? Someone has two large plays on right now of long calls and short puts at 1240 and 1280. That changes it a little bit. What is this play all about? Why would someone sell a bunch of puts at 1280? Why in the world would they sell a bunch of Netflix puts at 12? They sold these puts as in they think it's going above 1280. That's a really interesting bet. Why would they do that? That's a huge fucking bet. That's a very, very abnormal bet. Huh. We haven't seen one like that in a minute. And it doesn't look to be in the short term either. I'm trying to see roughly where it is. It must be the monthly. We have quite a bit of a decay right there. So it's falling over. Interesting. Interesting. 1280. I find that bet to be very fascinating. I find it to be very, very fascinating. Well, food for thought. We could throw Netflix up, see what the hell's going on today. Maybe there's going to be an opportunity. Maybe there isn't. First minute, a little bit red after a bit of a pop. Next minute, nice recovery. We did hit the closing value on the SPY, and it's slightly picking up right now. Oh, we don't need this at the moment. Wow, dude, all these pop-ups. Hang on, let me get rid of all the pop-ups. That's annoying. Mag 7 flow, kind of flat for the first 4 minutes, just picked up a little bit. The SPY, let me reload this page. Let's reload. SPY doing nothing, just looking jagged thus far this morning. There is no Captain Condor in play today as of now. Obviously, at any point, this could theoretically change. But here's, there's really not much special. What I want to point out is we have a lot of gamma support beneath. Look at all this. Basically starting at 6495. Look at all that beautiful positive gamma giving the market support. So basically, I want to see it take out 6510, which that gamma level is already starting to drop. The next one's 6530. So I'm watching 6510 out of the gate, followed by 6530, followed by 6540. So right now, these are 0 DTE, just SPX levels that I think are going to be important. But we do have a nice shot of traversing this range up to 6540, and I'm really liking this support underneath. Really liking that support underneath. So right now, I'm liking the odds of maybe not a bullish day, but I'm liking the odds of a lack of, at minimum, a bearish day, and those are obviously two very different things. Obviously, the market's dynamic, and people can, place new trades, get rid of old trades. So like the situation can shift. But as of market open right now, we have a lot of support underneath. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to skyrocket, but it does help us from any form of like a legit sell-off. So I'm liking that structure. Hood's giving some back after it ripped yesterday. Remember, I was watching 118 and we actually almost got there early this morning. Palantir's having a good day. It's already up 2%. So Palantir crushing it. Tesla recovering after its weird ass sell-off yesterday, up 1%. Still has some room to go. Netflix is up 1%. What do we have? Hood's actually a little bit red. Okay, Avago has... the exciting one I see right now is Palantir. That's by far up the most out of everything on my watch list. Maybe followed by Tesla, maybe followed by Netflix. So congrats, Palantir, once again. I feel like the way people, that recent article that we were reading about Nvidia is how people talk about Palantir. Be like, the second it has a red day, they're like, it's done, it's over. There's nothing we could do here. Like, completely screwed. And then you just wait a couple days and Palantir rips again. So it's just, there's certain stocks that like they rip so much that the second there's a red day, I feel like there's like all this like negativity. And then the second, like people just like, okay, wait, well, hang on a second. Like we popped and right here, they're like, oh, it's so done. It's going to break down. Nope, it's consolidating. And I bet when this starts to break 162, we're going to be talking about a trip back up to 190. So it's a patience play for sure. But it's just, we see this time and time again. Tesla's a good example of it, of like the second it gets hit, and it's more dramatic because of Elon and some of his commentary, but it gets hit and the same thing. People are like, dude, it's done. But it's such like a small time frame. They look at it 1 day, 1 week, and then you zoom out on the chart and you're like, oh, wait, it's actually completely fine. So just a reminder, when in doubt, zoom out, especially when you're talking about your high quality blue chip stocks. Especially when you're talking about your high chip or high quality blue. Palantir is looking nice, actually. You might want to throw this on your watch list, team. Palantir is showing a nice base formation, looking for that breakout and follow through. SPY just got a pop. The Qs didn't. So thus far, we're seeing a buck of the trend of yesterday where the Qs were stronger relative to the SPY. Thus far this morning, just on intraday action, the Qs are actually up more from yesterday's close. I'm just talking about from market open till now. The SPY has continued and put in higher highs, higher lows, while the Qs are actually just lower highs and higher lows, waiting for, I guess, some form of consolidation to break. Waiting for something to happen here. Waiting for something. Palantir taking a bit of a breather. Netflix doing its thing. If Tesla breaks above 350, could you guys yell at me in chat? Because we might want to watch that with respect to flow. Speaking of that, Mag 7 slowly but surely grinding up. SPY is definitely grinding up. Let's look at Tesla. Tesla is pushing to the upside. Nvidia is doing nothing. Palantir is pushing to the upside. Even got a flow alert. Microsoft push up, going flat. Apple kind of giving a little bit of it back. Netflix pushed up, going flat. MicroStrategy going down. Meta flat, maybe picking up a little bit. Broadcom definitely giving some back. AMD looking good. Robinhood popped up, but just gave it back. And then the Russell kind of gave a little bit back, flat, not really moving the most, though, in a general sense. All right, where do we go here? All right, we are obviously, for my day traders, for my scalp traders, SPX, the S&P 500, this is the real thing. You should be, if you want to trade SPY or ES or VOO or something like that, have at it. But in terms of if you're watching for levels of support and resistance, you should be watching SPX. This is the actual S&P 500. This is the real thing. This is where big money trades. This is where Wall Street is paying attention. This is the thing. This is the index. While all those other things are either a future contract or a fund created to track this. So they're all derivatives off of what this is. So like I said, trade what you want to trade. But if you're curious about key levels, whether it's open interest, psychological levels, break, like things like that, you're going to want to pay attention to SPX, which brings me to my major point of, like yesterday, the major battle is 6,500. This is the level. If we hold this, great. The longer we hold it, better. We're setting up for a test of the high from yesterday at 6,508, and then a follow through to 20, and then probably 32, followed by 40, something like that. But out of the gate, this is what you're going to want to watch. Do buyers step in pretty much at this level, or do we fall back into this transition zone? If we do, are we just tapping the closing value at 6,495 and then we bounce right off of that? Obviously, time will tell. We had a nice trend to the upside, higher high, higher high, higher lows. We just broke this succession of lows, so that's not so good. But also, we're at this key level, so definitely just pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention. What happened here? Is it going to bounce right off of it? That would be a nice, easy play. Let's see if it turns right here. Because like this level seems arbitrary on SPY. You're like, what's so special about 648.90? Nothing. And then you realize on SPX, it's actually 6,500. So that's why you do it, is because people care about the key levels in SPX. They don't really care about it in SPY. Like, I shouldn't say they don't care about it. They don't care about it as much on a relative measurement. Of course, if SPY is coming up to a key level like 650, yeah, there might be some reaction because of how prolific zero DTE retail trading is on SPY. Yes, it could have an impact. Dude, look at that bounce already. Almost as if we should be watching these key levels. AMC sellout. I guess if you feel that way about me, I honestly feel that I was the only quote unquote influencer in that entire community that was 100% honest all of the time. And beyond that, I was also just right. I was right about the pump. I was right about the dump. I was right about taking your money when the trend breaks down. I was right about Adam Aaron being an absolute scumbag. I was right about Trey being a fucking retard. I mean, if you're redefining the word sellout to be, hey man, you were right and you're mad that you didn't listen to me, that's on you. Like, I get that you're angry. I'm assuming you're carrying this anger because you lost money, and I empathize with that. I don't want any retail trader to lose money in the market. The reason I do this is to attempt to teach people so you can make better investment and trading decisions and kind of cut through the BS, what's real, what isn't real. But at a certain point, you're just carrying this anger because you made a decision yourself, a grown adult, and you probably knew better, and you're just mad it didn't pay out. Like, you're basically at the casino table, we were at the roulette table and you hit, and then you just kept betting on green over and over and over again. And then one of the times it didn't land on green, which was already very unlikely. And now you're just angry about it. Even though there was people at the table telling you, hey man, you probably shouldn't keep betting on green, especially when like we're like noticing some like sketchy shit is going on. So I get it. Like you're projecting your anger onto me, and like, I guess I'm sorry that you feel so angry, but in reality, I assume you're kind of just angry at yourself, which you probably should be, because you probably knew better and you just didn't like listen. You wanted something to occur, like you wanted so bad for something to happen, and it just didn't. And I get it. Maybe you had blinders on because you're drinking the Kool-Aid from the Colt, and everyone like you got all spun up about dark pools and taking on Ken Griffin, and you thought you were going to be a part of the movement that took down Wall Street. But remember, inevitably, there's one rule when it comes to the markets. Wall Street doesn't lose. Individual people lose. Individual hedge funds lose. They lose. Wall Street doesn't lose. Wall Street has a perfect track record. It's been here before us. It's gonna be here after us. You're not gonna beat Wall Street, dude. You're just not. You're here for a little bit. You ride it and you move on. And we can't forget about Lou versus Wall Street. He was correct also about AMC and XRP. He was never correct. That guy was an unhinged lunatic. If you think he was correct, you might be more fucking stupid than he is or was. I don't know. Apparently he died or something. I don't even know if that's true. Someone said Tesla 350. Thank you. Palantir still looking decent. Wait. It didn't hit 350. Oh, wait, it did. You're right. Sorry. With that little bit of a delay, it unfortunately dropped $1 very quickly, but it pretty much hit it. So we almost got a little bit of a wake-up call right there, but quickly got smacked. We keep wicking, and once again, this number seems random, 64890. It's not random. It's 6,500, probably one of the most pivotal levels that we've seen in weeks of trading. So this is actually a really good example of, if you're trading SPY, you're going to be like, dude, wait, what? Why? Like, what's special about this? And then you switch it over to SPX, and you're like, oh, it's because it's one of the most important levels that we've seen in quite a while, especially as day traders. So I'm going to set up an alert there for this. Ooh, wait, actually, hang on. Gotta be faster. Faster. I'm logging into my Vanquish account. Quick. I want to get ready just in case this breakout occurs. All right, I want to load up. Come on, faster. 6505. All right, we're going to buy 10 of these. All right, I'm not doing it yet. I'm just getting the order ready. On my Vanquish Sim to Funded account. Just in the event that we get this trend line switch here, looking for this bounce off of 6,500, I'm going to market order this in. Long SPX calls 6505. That is the play that I'm looking to take on this trend line breakout. Obviously, I would also very much enjoy if this continues. I'm liking the strength of the Mag 7 Delta, but I'm not liking what I see on the SPY. The SPY showed some strength and then quickly got hit as people bought 0 DTE puts. The calls are holding constant, so the bulls are trying to hold the line, but the bears did start showing some strength about 8 minutes into the day. Once again, this is with respect to the combination of the S&P 500. That's SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES all put together. So I'm hoping that this is closing out. I'm hoping that these are buying to close. And I'm hoping that we can get this bounce right here. Come on. All right, order sent. Let's see if I could pull a rabbit out of this hat. I'm in at 910. 910. So I'm going to dump it at 1060. And it was a fake out. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I want this to fall through. Come on. Obviously, I have well-defined risk right here. I'd feel way more comfortable if we take out 503. Obviously, my target would be the intraday high, looking for this trend line break to intraday high, risking recent low. Pretty basic of a setup. Nothing too special there. Nothing too special. Let me move this over here so I can watch it on this screen. Oh, it was the Qs that got hit. What happened? Did the Mag 7 take a hit? It took a little bit of a hit, but not that. Whoa. What happened back here? Someone really hit the NASDAQ at 941. The Delta really dropped there. It was a lot of 0 DTE calls being sold. Maybe sold to open, maybe sold to close. Regardless, calls being sold removes positive delta from the system. Removes positive delta from the system. All right, we're getting pretty choppy, which is oddly what we've been seeing. Oh, here we go. Tesla's picking up. For anyone paying attention to Tesla, I'm already in Tesla calls. Just, I guess, to be transparent with all of you. Tesla's looking good. Netflix quickly gave back some of those gains that we saw out of the gate. Tesla, I wanted to hold 350. Palantir's having a great day. Nvidia did pop, gave some back. Meta's climbing. Meta? What are you up to, Meta? This might be an inverse shoulder, head, shoulder, trying to hang out above 760. Upside gap fill to 780. Meta is looking some sort of way. Meta. Daily chart. Decent. There is a downside gap fill to 740. It's pretty much halfway in between the two gaps. Upside gap fill to 781, downside gap fill to 740. Giving a little bit. The Qs are kind of taking a hit right here. We are still within the pre-market, post-market, pre-market range. We had a high at 3:30 in the morning. We had a low at 21:20. What's that? 9:30 basically. So we are still, that's what this box is. It's the overnight trading high and low, which commonly is targets. I remember at one time I read a stat like upwards of 85% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time, either the high or the low, sometimes both, is taking out in the trading session. So a lot of the times people use those as target levels. And as of right now, I mean, I would love for us to be taking out the 885 side, but right now it seems like there might be a push down to 791, which once again is this low from late last night when we should have all been getting ready for bed. Meta is attempting to hold. Meta's holding. Tesla's holding. Tesla, what was it? The breakout is 357, I want to say. Yeah, 356, 358, somewhere in there. So still an inside bar. Daily chart on Tesla, not really trending right now. Palantir, up range. Netflix, up range. Nvidia, inside bar. Meta, inside bar. Microsoft, up range. Avago, inside. Actually, the second inside bar in 2 days. Google, actually a down range day. Hood, actually an up range day. It almost took out the all-time high. We got really close to an all-time high. Within 4 cents of an all-time high on Robinhood there. All right, what are we doing? So this is the watch. This is the clear watch. We almost got going, but we are seeing if we could hold this support. You know what I'm going to do just to make this a little bit more easy to see? Actually, can I change? I'll make it like 10, just so it's like, so you guys get the idea. I didn't want to change the color that much, but you understand that we are dipping into the transition zone. So hopefully we can find support here because we have 2 levels of support. We have the, well, actually multiple. We have the top of the transition zone, we have the psychological level, and we have the open interest level of, well, the gamma influences there because of the open interest at 6,500. So this is the interesting watch. If it fails, there is a shot of a quick dip to 6495, and then we bounce right out of that. Totally possible. I would prefer we just bounce from here, or it could be like Friday where we just cut through every single level possibly known to man. So you should know that the odds of this, of hitting the previous day's closing value, is very high. Very, very high. Of course, it does change based on certain setups and how far away the gaps are. But in general, as a day trader, as a scalp trader, that is a strong strategy. Playing the overall market or even the NASDAQ or the Russell to its previous day's closing value. We opened up here at 6498. We closed at 9.5. And I'm not saying that you should be trading this out of the gate, but as we pump, if you start to see some weakness, well, all of a sudden you have some pretty good distance to play. So the size of this gap is very small, which actually means it's more likely that at some point today we do hit 6495. We're talking about likelihood, as in not a guarantee. There's no such thing as a guarantee in trading. If you think you could somehow be a perfect trader and never have a losing trade, it just doesn't exist. It does not exist whatsoever. So remember, that's when it comes into your leverage and your bet sizing and your patience and your timing. But just generically talking about the statistics of the market, especially as it relates to SPX, when you have this small of a gap, the statistical likelihood of us hitting this downside gap fill, I don't have the odds right in front of me, but I believe they're in excess of like 85% chance. So it's very, very likely that at some point in the trading session, you hit the previous closing value when your initial opening gap is very, very small. Meta is holding. Actually, Meta is one of the few that is currently holding. All right. Both the SPY already hit its closing value right out of the gate, which right there, that's another important distinction. Sometimes there is a bit of measurable difference between SPY and SPX. SPY already hit the downside gap fill. SPX has not. The reason for that is because remember, SPX is the theoretical index, like theoretically perfect. They don't have to actually the delays of buying and selling what's in the ETF. They don't have the transaction costs. So like there's always going to be like a little bit of a difference, but remember the correlation is still like 99%. So anyway, the SPY already hit it. The Qs just hit it right now, just hit the closing value. And now we are a little bit away. I'm curious if some buyers are going to be stepping in right here. And then honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Qs puke another 15 points. I'm kind of watching this 23,790 level. This 23,790. With respect to momentum, the 5-minute is bearish. The 10-minute is bearish. The 30-minute is bearish. The 4-hour is bullish. On the NASDAQ, 5-minute bearish, 10-minute bearish, 30-minute pushing bearish. And then here, the 4-hour is still bullish. So shorter time frame stuff, bearish, medium, questionable, and 4-hour bullish on both still. So a little bit of a mismatch between our smallest time frames and our longer time frames. And is this where we're bouncing? Is this where we're bouncing? Well, we didn't hit it, but buyers are stepping in. Jesus. Buyers are stepping. Wow. The Mag 7 has remained strong this whole time. Once again, I'm never going to speak in absolutes, but this is a telltale sign of maybe it's worthwhile to be in the mindset of buying the dip rather than selling the rip. Even though the price was going down, look how strong the Mag 7 was that whole time. And then what you could use as an extra filter is be like, okay, I'm still not going to execute it until I see strength return to the S&P 500. So like, okay, you're just waiting for multiple different quote unquote filters to align in one direction or the other rather than just basing it purely on price. But yeah, the Mag 7 has held this entire time. We just got this recovery, which is kind of blowing my mind. If we can take out 503, it dipped a little bit further than I expected, but that's a nice dip. Let's see. I guess the market equilibrium, the market participants wanted it back above 6,500. This is the battle. We just took out this downsloping trend line after a succession of lower highs and lower lows on the 1 minute. Let's see if we have a trend reversal in our midst. Are we going from bearish to bullish? That would be defined as taking out these recent highs at 6,503. And then on the next dip, we have a higher low than the dip at 955. So that's what I'm looking for. Not just taking out the highs, but we want to take out the highs and then also officially have a higher low. So it's kind of like a twofer thing to see if we actually go from bearish to bullish. So calm, cool, collected, strong bounce on the Qs off their closing value. And then the SPY overshot it as SPX almost got it. So like kind of some weird in-between thing. Meta's still looking crazy strong, actually. Damn. Congrats to you guys if you arbitrarily decided to play Meta recently. Meta is very quickly becoming the belle of the ball today. Very quickly becoming the belle of the ball. Avago is giving some back. Yeah, Meta stealing the show. Very much stealing the show. All right, let's see if we can get a new structure, a new price structure. We don't have to overcomplicate it, folks. In fact, we can keep trading. We can make trading very, very simple. It is bearish if you have lower highs and lower lows for whatever time frame you are on. You would consider that time frame's trend to be bearish. The opposite of that would be higher highs and higher lows. That would be bullish. You do have two more options. You have lower highs and higher lows. That is consolidation. You're not making any new extremes. And then the other one, which is by far the worst setup, is higher highs and lower lows. It's sometimes referred to as a microphone pattern. It's an expanding pattern. And those are tough just because it not only is not trending, but it's whipping you out most likely. Like those are the scenarios where people like get stopped out and you're making all those new extremes and it just sucks ass. So those are by far the worst ones. Okay. We are officially seeing a higher low here. Shoulder, head, shoulder. You can see it perfectly. Here's a low, here's a low, here's a low. So we just made a higher low and we just made a higher high. So right now we officially have a trend reversal. Will the trend continue? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, but I'm letting you know that we went from bearish to bullish. And now the question is, how long will this trend go? And what you could do is in a bullish trend, you just keep watching the recent low. You watch the low at 955. Well, we just put in another one here at 959. You just keep watching that succession of recent lows. In bull trends, you care about the lows. In bear trends, you care about the highs. You care kind of about the opposite one. But we took out one high. I don't think we've taken out the intraday high quite yet. We got very close. 6505, and then I'm looking for it to take out the high from whatever we had. But this looks to be a 10 a.m. data reaction, which is not going well in real time. What the fuck was that? What in the world was that? What was the news? Profit, do you have that? We're all over the map. Payroll benchmark, a drop of 911, and the expectation was 600. Whoa. All right. So we just got some job revisions, and the market was happy, was unhappy, and now it doesn't know. But what I can tell you is in that we did hit the bottom of the overnight, the extended hours trading in NQ. Like that was literally perfectly my target. So had you carried a short, yeah, it was a little bit of nail biting in there, but eventually you did hit your target without too much of an adverse movement. Not necessarily the easiest play because of this pop, but if you went short on this breakdown at 958, you're short at 819, and you were able to play it for 30 points. That's $600 in an NQ contract. You played it up here, you played the lower high, you played the breakdown, you had well-defined risk, you had a target. Not a bad deal whatsoever. Not a bad deal whatsoever. Oh brother, 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 oh brother. Oh brother. Oh brother, oh brother, oh bro. Oh brother. Are we still going? Or is it gonna, I was curious if it's gonna hold this or not. Still didn't get that. Wow. Within 3 minutes, we went from almost the intraday high to almost the intraday low. Definitely has some volatility in this market, to say the least. Definitely has some volatility in this market. Definitely some high vol situations. All right, I'm just checking out some of the internal readings to see what's going on now. The NQ is still getting smoked as well. But Vault, like the ATR, like we're really just starting to whip. Hang on, we might want to dive into what the fuck's happening here because like we're just getting some crazy movement. I would love to see a recapture of 800. Actually, I believe if we recapture that with some strength, some follow through. I think Icarus should theoretically be taking the first trade of the day, but we will be finding out on that. We will be finding out on that. What time is it? It's 10:03. A lot of people trying to dump. They're trying to sell at 800. Others are trying to sell at, well, they were trying to sell at 823, and now they're dropping it and moving it pretty rapidly. This order's getting moved a lot. This order's pretty constant. Yeah, you see, oh, they just pulled it completely. Yeah, they're trying to dump it at 800 right here. All right, let's see if we can recapture that psychological level, which also is now important. Well, hang on, it's dropping. The density here, I'm noticing, dude, that order's moving around a lot. The markets, you could see the ATR, the like, whether it's the 10 second, the 30 second, the 1 minute, the average true range, how much we're moving in shorter times. We're just rocking it up right now. I am looking for this to be the bottom of the day. Basically, I am looking for us to, this range that we've now kind of created, I'm looking for a recovery on top. We hold it, and then I want to see if we could get all the way back to 885. From a math standpoint, I have no good reason for that. I'm letting you know like what I would want to trade. I'm letting you know the setup I am looking for. I just know this is a key technical level. I know that if you get in, you have well-defined risk, and if you might be able to ride it all the way up, and you don't even have to be right that often for this stuff to really be net profitable for you. If you can risk, I mean, the risk reward here is phenomenal. You're risking 20 points for a potential 80. That's a 4 to 1, 4 reward to 1 risk. So asymmetric in your favor. But this little block right here, I kind of want to see us actually. Oh, hang on. Icarus started firing.
Order submitted.
Icarus, what are you doing today? Looks like a recapture of the 50 EMA. Triggered it long. Little bit of slippage. Not the biggest fan of that. Come on, Icarus. Don't fly too close to the sun today. Don't fly too close to the sun today, buddy. Very much need 800 to hold. Fuck. Come on, buddy. Where's the 100 tick? Yeah, and that was a nice breakout too. A little bit of slippage. If it was faster, it'd be in at 6 and it would have already been out. But dude, look how close that was. It was off by half a point. It was off by 2 fucking ticks. Dude, slippage is going to be the death of me. Slippage is going to be the absolute death of me. Motherfucker. It's going to murder me. I just don't even know if there's really a way. Well, slippage is always going to be a thing, but it feels to be uniquely bad in the world of sim-to-funded trading. But maybe Icarus knows what it's talking about. First time wasn't a charm, but when in doubt,
Order filled.
don't quit. All right, not bad. Not bad, not bad, not bad. So that sucked that it got super close, didn't get its fill, and had to hold through this drawdown. But hey, whatever. Winning's winning. Winning is winning. So first trade of the day, pretty solid. These bigger accounts are ever so slightly inching towards getting actually approved. I just need to get another $1,500 in them. But we'll see. We'll see what else Icarus has in store for us. So I'm looking for a recapture of this zone in a general sense. We are back. We tried to get the trend line breakout, failed. We really tried to get it, got smacked on the news. So we still have kind of that expanding pattern. It was making a higher high and lower low, but now it's clearly lower highs and lower lows. So this right here, this 10 a.m. bar, you could argue it's a little bit of a fluke. It was just this like volatile overreaction to the job revisions. But right here, dingity ding ding ding. If you played that right here, 10:03. As much as it looked ugly and we were pretty much at the intraday high, 3 minutes later, we dumped and did hit that value. So I know some of these times when you're day trading, like the odds just don't make sense. You're like, why are the statistics for that so good? And yeah, you could think about it, but at the end of the day, the odds are just that good and it hits a lot. And today is another successful bet. Sometimes it's definitely like a white knuckling type of a scenario, but regardless, it hit. And hopefully that's where support needs to be found, and we bounce. Hopefully this is where support. So both the SPY and the NASDAQ, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100, both just hit support and we're attempting to bounce. So let's see if this is the actual recovery. Let's see if this is the real thing. I want to know. Come on. All right, so if this dips, 807, that's where I could get fucked. So where do we recover? We recover above 840. 840 is what we're looking for the recovery above. Tesla all of a sudden got hit. That's not so good. Okay, the SPY is showing some strength. Here we go. Here we go. We're picking up. We got the nice bounce off the close. We got this trend line breakout. We bounced out of the transition zone. We recaptured 6,500. Now the next logical test is the intraday high, 6,505, followed by the high from yesterday, 6,508. That would be target 1, target 2. We got the bounce out of this zone that I was talking about, so I can delete that. Obviously, we are looking out to take out 6536, which is roughly the 50 EMA on the 10-minute chart. It's technically 39. And then from there, 48. Just watching some of these recent ones. So those would be my intermediate ones, but I'm telling you my actual target is up here. It's 23885. And it looks like we are having a pretty solid push at the moment. A pretty solid push. Hang on. Oh no. Oh, is this going to call it? I'm wondering if two sub aspects of Icarus on this push right here are going to be in conflict with each other, and it's going to accidentally double up the order. There is a non-0% chance all of my accounts are about to take on double the size position on this breakout. If it goes. Well, that's an interesting problem to have. That is, I'm very... Is anything going to happen at all? SPY is going. Yeah. All right. We took out 6505. Next watch is 6508. I'm concerned about this team. I am concerned, to say the least. Huh. Interesting problem. Interesting problem. We'll find out. We're going to find out real soon. Well, maybe not real soon if it plummets here, but if we keep pushing, we're going to be finding out. All right. Strong. We found support. We found support. SPY. I know it looks random, but in reality, it's not. We bounced right off the closing value on SPX. We recaptured 6,500. We pushed the intraday high. Next level 508. More important to me is 520. On NQ, it might look random on the Qs, as in like, why did we dip here? Why did we go from 79 down to, I don't know, 78.36? Well, it's not random. It's literally the overnight trading low. We just came right down to it. The market was seeking out equilibrium, and the bulls decided to step in at 10:07 after that report. And as I was sitting here at 10:05 saying this is a great risk to reward setup. If you took that trade, your initial risk was this low. At this point, you'd move your stop to break even, and I would still personally be targeting 85. I wouldn't be out yet. If I took that trade that I called out in real time to you, I'd be long right there. I'd be there somewhere between 10.05 and 10.07 is where I would have went long. My risk would have been the 10.03 low. The fact that we took out the 9.57 high, I would have moved my stop to break even. And at this point, it's a freebie play. Maybe you hit it, maybe you don't. Matt, do you use margin a lot? All of my accounts are margin accounts. Every single account I have is a margin account. Every single one. All right, we are looking. Are we going to close? What time is it? 10:14. I would love a push now. That would make, if it pushes right now, it would mean that my two subsystems are not in conflict with each other. But if it draws back and then pushes and it takes some time, that's where things could get a little bit saucy for your boy. That's where things could get a little bit saucy. Did you hit on Vanquish? No, I didn't, actually. I'm actually down by $1,000 for some reason. I really thought that would have hit. I really thought that would have hit on that push, but this is Theta Decay. Vol smash, Theta Decay. It sucks. It sucks, it sucks, it sucks. All right, or is it going to pick up here? Here's a look at the flow. Mag 7 picking up. S&P 500 holding decently. How is this looking? Oh, by the way, if you want to see where the sitting buyers are, it is 830, which is pretty much VWAP. You have the point of control at 45. It looks like some people are trying to dump at 57, 58 up here. Oh, we just took this out. What's going on?
Order submitted.
No. No. It went short? Icarus. Why? Oh, fuck, dude. Well, I very much hope Icarus knows what he's doing, because I certainly fucking don't. Icarus, are you smarter than me? Bro, what was it thinking? I would have never done that. It's always interesting to see when your bots behave very differently. I would have still been looking for long. Like this whole time I've been pitching long. Dude, is Icarus going to hit? No way. No way. I think a sane person right now would probably move their stop to break even. Oxygen breathers, LOL. Yeah, it's just what happens when I let my clankers trade for me. All these fucking clankers. What does Icarus see? I mean, Icarus. Say what you want about Icarus, but he has balls. He has balls, this thing. That one was a surprise to say the least. Well, there's clear support at 15, and my order fill is right past 15. There's a lot of buyers here at, oh fuck, right where I am. Are they watching me? Is Icarus giving out his calls here? So they were at 807. And now they are sitting at 813, which is a bummer because Icarus is trying to get a fill at 12. Will Icarus prove to be right?
Order filled.
Holy shit. Why do I ever manually trade? What is going wrong in my life that I feel the need to manually trade? Like, I don't understand what is wrong in my, like, was I dropped as a child? I need to call my mom on stream one of these days. And like, did she throw me against pavement when my brain was still developing? Why am I so fucking stupid that I do this day in and day out and I prove to myself that my systems work? And then I'm like, I think I might manually trade today. Like, what is wrong with me? I don't even mean that hypothetically. I mean, like, honestly, if there's a therapist in here, I need your help. Because it make like this whole, I was like, I'm bullish. Fucking Icarus is like, nah, we're actually shorting. Like, what? Dude, did Icarus bottom ticket? Yo, did Icarus just bottom ticket? That motherfucker. If this is the low and we rip from here, that's crazy. That is crazy. Oh, Icarus. What will he think of next? Actually, I forgot space after the therapist. I'm a therapist. I forgot space after the I'm Matt wishes he sold out. Buddy was up millions. Are you guys still talking about AMC? Yeah. I've gone on record and I'll say it again. I wish I sold out. Do you know how much money I could have actually made? Dude, I fucking wish I sold out. Especially for how stupid that community's become now. Like, in retrospect, and you can quote me saying this, seeing how brain dead that community's been, I would have sold them out for free. I would have done it for the plot if I could have. Obviously, I could have got paid a lot of money, and I wish I did that. But, like, truly, seeing how stupid the AMC community is at this moment. Same thing with the BBBY. Same thing with the OPN. Same thing with GNS. All those people. Dude, fuck that. I'd sell, literally just because they deserve it, I would sell them out. Nothing. Just give me a solid crisp high five. Just give me a solid handshake. Just a quality level handshake. And I'm ready. That's what I would do it for. All right. We might have another higher low. I know it feels extreme, but technically it is above this previous low that we saw. And surprise, surprise, we are right back to this key level. But we're looking at this low, this low, this low. We have lower lows turned into higher lows. That's what we're watching. We're watching for this potential trend reversal. And we actually have higher highs. I know this is extreme just because of how big it is, but technically it is higher highs. It is higher lows. So if it can bounce off of here, this technical, psychological, open interest level, if we can start to push back up, especially if we could take out 505 again like we did this morning, we could have a real shot. Mag 7 pumped, dumped, and now it's trying to pump again. S&P 500 had a big pump and now a big dump. Oh, remember, Bookmap, this is in the description of the video. They are one of the partners of today's stream. That's this tool right here. If you want a discount on it, check it out. But it's just a very, it's a good tool for, in my opinion, day traders, scalp traders. You see where all the sitting orders are. Sitting passive sell orders, sitting passive sell buy orders, and then obviously the aggression. And you could even do certain things like iceberg orders and stop orders and that type of stuff. And you see VWAP, you see the point of control. It's a really cool tool. I like it a lot for day trading, for scalp trading. If you're interested in it, it's called Bookmap. It's in the description of the video. They have a lot of different plans. They have a free plan, monthly plans, annual plans, different data packages. So obviously, I would say use the one that's appropriate for you. But yeah, this is probably one of the major questions I'm getting right now is what in the world is this tool? It's called Bookmap. And like I said, if you want that discount, it's in the description of the video. Are we not bouncing? Meta's still holding. Tesla looks like shit, unfortunately. It was looking so good this morning. It was above 350 and it just got destroyed. It got destroyed. Meta. It's still the belle of the ball. Still the belle of the ball over here, Meta. Still the bell. Mag 7 still picking up though. Wait, what are the big guys doing today? Nothing. The big guys have not gone out of bed yet today. The big guys have not gotten out of bed. Interesting. Meta, higher highs, higher lows. We're trying to put in a higher low on the SPY and the Qs right now, but we're not really seeing much follow through on Tesla. We're now seeing lower highs and lower lows. Palantir, we made a fresh low, but now we're making a fresh high. We took out some recent highs. Now we're going for the intraday high. Netflix is flat. Nvidia flat. Microsoft put in a fresh high, got hit. Avago is flat. Google pumped, is now flat. Hood is dying off. Apple not looking the best. MicroStrategy trying to bounce off of a sell-off. Coin popped, is going flat. How's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin holding 112, but was at 113, also got hit. That jobs number, what was the actual details related to that? I'm sure we could find it if we look. I'm sure we could find those job revisions. Just in job revisions, a drop of 911. Yeah, biggest revision on record. The U.S. Labor Department revises down 911,000 jobs out of the data reported in the 12 months ending March 2025. The U.S. job market is a far weaker than initially reported. So we are setting up for a potential 50 bips rate cut, folks. If inflation can come in low, look at this. Look at these odds now. Yeah, dude, the odds of a 50 bips rate cut, it's holding. It doubled overnight from 10 to 20%. Check this out. 18%. Look at those odds. We're climbing. We're climbing. This blue line is the 50 bips rate cut. If inflation comes in cool tomorrow, but more importantly on Thursday, we actually might get a 50 bips rate cut. Jobs market is really showing some weakness. That's crazy. That's crazy. I cannot believe I didn't get my fill on this pump. That's insane to me. Absolutely insane. Dude, the Russell is getting smoked right now. Qs are actually still green. SPY's break even. SPX is slightly green. What are we doing? We tried to get going here. They tried to bounce back. Most likely some optimism of the 50 bips rate cut, but it did not hold for long. It did not hold for long. Wow. What are we doing? Ooh, the SPY. We're almost at a delta low. Look at that. What goes up must come down. Mag 7 still holding. NASDAQ is attempting to hold. Wow, that is some crazy bad numbers. Revised down by almost 1 million.
Order filled.
Icarus hit again.
Target filled.
Actually, even faster than I could switch it. 855 per 150K account, and then 475 on the 50K accounts. These are brand new as of today. This Tradeify account is brand new as of today. And then these accounts, I've been trading them for a while, and it looks like I need anywhere between 1,000 more and 700 more to pass these tests officially. So hopefully, if everything goes right, either today or tomorrow, I'll be passing these tests, but we'll see. We'll see. That was a quick one. That was actually very quick. See, I would have, even though that hit, I would have preferred it actually took this trade here. Wait for the reversion, then the puke. Granted, this is not the best example, but you get my point. You get my point. It feels like it's taking on less risk if it just kind of waits a second. But hey, not bad. 855 on those. 475 on these. So obviously I'm trading them with about half the size because the risk is about half. I know it's 3x the amount of capital, but it's about half the size risk. So I trade these literally about half of the contracts that I trade these. And I do have some slight deviations in the code that I'm running on it. Oh, well, Icarus strikes again. And I think I might just let Icarus run because my personal opinion, what I was going to do for the market today would have apparently gotten me blown out. So Whoa, that's a lot of paint. Are we missing? So it seems as if, as of now, and obviously who knows what's going to happen with the rest of the day, but it seems like the big news as of now is that jobs revision, which just murked the market. Murked it. Monster downward revision to the jobs report for the last 3 years. Holy shit. Look at that. A drop of 9/11. Wow. The biggest that we've had probably to date. U.S. payrolls revised lower by 911, largest downward adjustment on record. This is another BLS scandal, and Trump was absolutely right to fire the BLS commissioner. What this means, there were virtually no job creations in the last year of the Biden administration. The Fed should have started cutting in February. So based on the information the Fed was given, that's why they didn't cut. It just turns out that the information they were being given was an absolute fucking lie. So this is going to very much set up a situation where if inflation come in at expectations or ideally cool for the next 2 days, PPI tomorrow, CPI on Thursday, that we're going to probably then get a 50 bips rate cut. A record level revision to the downside. Holy shit. Dude, they should have fired those BLS fuckers. Fuck them. Like, I don't blame the Fed. I know a lot of you are specifically against Jerome Powell and like he should have done it. But once again, they can only go off the numbers that they are given. Your issue shouldn't be with Jerome Powell and the Fed. It should be with the BLS. They are on the same team. Matt, what the fuck are you talking about? Why do people say dumb shit like that? They're on the same team. Like, you're literally just saying things that sound good. You have no fucking clue how those people get those jobs. You can't even name the lady who was of the BLS. Like this, people, there's few things in this world that are less frustrating than people trying to make things political like that. Like, oh, they're all on the same. They're all on the same team. No, the Fed, a non-political party, has done what their models have told them to do, specifically to do, when they are given the data that they were given. And they never have deviated from that. The big argument is that the data they were given was apparently bullshit. Complete bullshit. You believed in Russian collusion, right? What a weird pivot from your stupid comment of they're all on the same team. They're all on the same team. Dude, I can't deal with how sometimes brain dead all these political people
Order
get
submitted.
when you're extremely left or extremely light.
Order
the
filled.
amount of brain dead shit going on. Dude, Trump put the Fed guy in. Trump is the reason Jerome Powell has the position he has. He put him in. They were buddies. They liked each other. He put him in that position. And then you're like, oh, they're all on the same team. He literally put, if you have an issue with the team that Jerome Powell is on, please understand that Trump is the one who put him on the team. You guys are really trying to, it's like this like conspiracy theorist like bullshit. And like you try to say things that like when you dive into it in an actual conversation, you're like, yo, what are you talking about? And you're like, oh, it turns out that you don't know what you're talking about. My cousin works at the BLS. They hate Trump. Well, I would say it's safe to say with the numbers we are getting now, it's kind of like proven that they are in fact liars. Like that, when you have a record-breaking revision like that, and then just all the monthly revisions, I don't know if they're intentionally lying. I don't know if it's the process of which they collect the data is really, really archaic. It's really, really stupid. If I had to bet money, I would bet the truth is somewhere in the middle. I would bet that like they were like, maybe putting their hands on the scales a little bit, but then also when you mix that with a stupid system, it's if you take any time today, if you have like a free 5-10 minutes, you should do a quick search. You don't have to take my word for it, of how the BLS collects unemployment data, jobs data. It's going to blow your mind. It's probably like the dumbest process you could probably think of, which is they argue why these revisions are so dramatic. But I would say that we're seemingly beyond dramatic. Like these numbers, that's why I'm saying I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think it's the way they collect data is stupid. I think it's archaic. And then I also wouldn't be so surprised if it was married a little bit with just supporting Biden and against Trump, especially because the BLS leader who was recently fired from her position on record multiple times basically said she liked Biden and does not like Trump. So I wouldn't be so surprised about that one. But this idea, like, to then take it the next level and be like, well, actually, hang on a second, they're all on the same team. Like, that's just stupid. It's really, really dumb. The Fed, because like the way you have to understand with the Fed, the models of how they run things are publicly known. They're available. The models of which they run, it was in there for multiple Fed chairs before Jerome Powell. That's why the odds of these Fed cuts are so spot on, because of the models that they use to tell them what to do with the Fed rates are publicly available. They're publicly known. If you have the basic ability to put in some numbers into an Excel sheet, you too could figure it out. That's why they're so, like, whenever we have these odds, they're like, oh, they're 90% sure, 95% sure. That's why. That's 100% why. So the fact that we have those models, I think it really helps with transparency, because like you can see that they haven't been deviating. Like now, I guess if you're like, well, actually, I have a background in economics and I think the model's wrong because of like X, Y, Z. Hey, you have a fair point. You could disagree with the model, but to think that like the Fed as a body is going rogue, you haven't done any research. You haven't done like a single shred of research. In 10 years, Matt will be embarrassed by these streams. I probably will be. The fact that I'll probably in 10 years, I'll be 41 and I'll be thinking, wow, you wasted breath arguing with people who were like actually too stupid to understand basic things. Like the fact that you in your mind cannot deviate between like what's measurable, what's quantitative, what's data driven versus like whatever's spun up in your own head as a conspiracy. You are right. I will be looking back on this in a decade and think, wow, like I try to convince people who like actually didn't have the cognitive capability to like understand where like they went wrong. Can we agree that the analysis that goes into government data is outdated and full of holes, and the Fed depends on bad data and therefore makes bad decisions? I literally just said, are you deaf? I literally just explained the way that they collect data. It's going to blow your mind. I fully agree with that. But just because the Fed is given bad data, they can only make decisions as good as the data they are given. So once again, how is your issue with the Fed? It should be with the BLS, and it should be with our overall system of really collecting data. And hey, if you want to be like, yo, the way we collect data is stupid and it's outdated and it's archaic and it's prone to issues, I'm there with you. I'm 100% there with you, because it is bullshit. Dude, what the fuck? This data is fucking everything up. We are now almost a 3 standard deviation move from VWAP. That's how aggressive this sell-off was. That's insane. Trump fired BLS head, and people said Trump fired because bad data. Well, it was much more than that. But also, whether intentional or not, when you're just that bad at your job, when there's always like record-breaking revisions, at a certain point, you're just not good at your job. So regardless of you, if you want to say it was politically motivated, if you're just bad at your job, do you actually like even deserve to keep it? I think that's a fair thing to consider. Like just that, even if the previous person was non-political, even if the previous person absolutely loved Trump, if you're just bad at your job, should you keep your job? If you're consistently, perpetually bad and the numbers are just so consistently off, should you keep your job? I from that alone, regardless of potential political drives, like literally just being that bad at it, it's like, all right, move on. This is fucked. Yeah, haven't seen these levels since yesterday. I agree. It's a bad one. This is a pretty catastrophic sell-off. We probably have to zoom all the way out to see how bad this is. Pretty bad. It wasn't until this moment that I realized that we saw this level on Monday, September the 8th, that I realized, man, those were some dark times. Those were some fucking dark times. Do you guys remember September the 8th, 2025? The last time we were at these levels and we could barely hold on. It was, if you ask me, I know some of you probably drank this out of your memory, but when I was there on September the 8th, 2025, it was basically a Great Depression. I know a lot of you don't want me to bring up these horrific times and whatnot, but it was tough. It was tough for a lot of us involved. It was. LOL, as a bear, I can tell you it ain't bad yet. I mean, we literally just hit an all-time high. Oh, folks, calm down. Calm down. You guys think I get spun up? Jesus. September 8th was my Vietnam. Today is the 9th. Good on you, Trex. I think you're starting to get the joke. UFO whistleblowers testifying to Congress? Is this why the market's dying? UFO whistleblowers? Oh, that's a UFO. Thumbs up or thumbs down for UFOs?
That shit took off earlier.
If we can get rid of the audio real quick. Mr. Wiggins and Mr. Knapp, we'll get back to what that video was in a moment, but we just want to make sure that it was entered into the record, as well as all the documents. Those will be able to be publicly found for everyone in the country to view. If we could, Mr. Knapp, we'll continue on the line of questioning, but I'm going to move on to Mr. Borland's opening statement.
Dude, are they going to show us an alien?
Good morning, members of the task force and the committee. I would like to express my gratitude for being invited to testify to the current task force created under the People's Chamber and the American public.
Fucking meta,
As an American citizen, veteran, and intelligence community professional, it is an honor and a privilege to serve under oath before you on behalf of our country. I speak for myself and no former agency or company I have been previously affiliated with. My name is Dylan Borland, a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States Air Force in an active duty enlisted capacity from 2010 to 2013. I've also been employed with BAE Systems and Intrepid Solutions as a senior analyst, expert in analyzing video, radar, and advanced electro-optical imagery for official identification of aerial order of battle, as well as naval and ground order of battle. I'm a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the ICIG and ARROW with direct firsthand knowledge of and experience with craft and technologies that are not ours and are reportedly operating without congressional oversight. Because of my direct knowledge of the reality of certain legacy UAP programs, my professional career was deliberately obstructed, and I have endured sustained reprisals from government agencies for over a decade.
The stock market rips on this news.
In 2011 and 2013, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting 24-hour operations via manned and unmanned aerial vehicles for Special Operations Forces in the global war on terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base, and at approximately 01:30, I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base. The craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. I was under this triangular craft for a few minutes, and then it rapidly ascended to commercial jet level in seconds, displaying zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Some years after that experience, I was further exposed to classified information from the UAP legacy crash retrieval program through a sensitive position I held within a special access program. During this time, intelligence officers approached me in fear for their own careers, citing misconduct within these programs and similar retaliation that I was already enduring at this time. These issues include medical malpractice committed by Veterans Affairs staff, denial of work I performed while enlisted in the United States Air Force, forged and manipulated employment documents, workplace harassment, including colleagues being directed to not speak with me, manipulation of my security clearance by certain agencies, blocking, delaying, and ultimately removing my ability to be employed within the IC. The retaliation I face and the retaliation against individuals I know who worked in these programs is what convinced me in March 2023 to become a whistleblower. I came forward out of concern for people's lives and to ensure I did everything I could to let our elected representatives know the truth about what is really happening in the executive branch. At the end of March 2023, I agreed to meet with Arrow following the suggestion of other federal officials believing it was what our nation required of me. I had reservations with Arrow due to assessments they were reporting publicly at the time as a misrepresentation of the truth. Because of these concerns, I did not share sources and methods information in order to protect current and former federal personnel who had firsthand exposure to technologies of unknown origin. I did not want anyone to face further retaliation beyond what they had already endured. And unfortunately, a staff member ended up getting in some trouble because of that. After David Grush testified under oath in the summer of 2023 and provided historic disclosure, I was then asked to go to the ICIG and did so in August 2023. It was very clear early on during my intake interview, which was video recorded under oath, that the objective was to solely assess how much I know and not move forward with an investigation with new information I provided them. The aftermath of that IG complaint still troubles me to this day. Since my ICIG complaint, I've been prevented from resuming prior employment and can confirm I'm still blacklisted from certain agencies within the intelligence community. In addition, multiple agencies attempted phishing attacks to assess what I had divulged to the Inspector General, including being asked to disclose details of my ICIG complaint during a CI polygraph for a position unrelated to UFO UAP matters as recently as November 2024.
Recovery?
As I sit before you today, I and many other whistleblowers have no job prospects, no foreseeable professional future, and a nation every single one of us came forward to defend. Numerous individuals have come forward in various ways to reveal the truth of the UAP reality as patriots and defenders of our nation. Yet many feel discarded, isolated, hopeless, separated from the country they serve. Efforts to rectify this situation for all whistleblowers have been difficult and troubling. And to my fellow whistleblowers and officials who know this information, I offer you my apology, something that I have never gotten, and I'm giving it to you.
Show us the alien.
I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, an oath that demands truth and transparency for our democratic republic to function.
100% an alien.
Each day, these truths remain hidden from our citizens. Humanity drifts further from the principles our nation was founded to uphold.
They brought 2 aliens
Each day,
in.
victims
That was
of
not even
crimes committed
trying.
by agencies and companies maintaining this secrecy or denied justice is another day our Constitution is shredded. In 2023,
Folks, you're seeing an
Patriots
alien
provided this
on the
committee
screen
and the executive
right
branch
now.
with undeniable proof of the UAP reality, and I commend your continued commitment. The future of humanity is one which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has been to deliver critical information to decision makers. Your role as elected by your representatives is to act on it. The time to act is now. Thank you.
Dude, show us the evidence. Also, keep your eyes on the alien lady.
Mr. Borland, thank you for your service to our country, and we appreciate you. And we are sorry about how you've been treated, and we will make sure that we try to rectify that situation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Spielberger, please, your opening remarks.
Chairwoman Luna, Ranking Member Crockett, and task force members, thank you for the opportunity to testify here today about the importance of strengthening whistleblower protections, especially in the context of national security. I'm a senior policy counsel at the Project on Government Oversight, a nonpartisan independent watchdog organization that investigates and exposes waste, corruption, abuse of power, and when the government fails to serve the public or silences those who report wrongdoing. Whistleblowers are the first line of
Order
defense to
submitted.
root out waste, fraud, abuse of power, and corruption in our government. Congress relies on
Order
whistleblowers
submitted.
so that it can fully exercise its oversight and legislative authorities. It's understandable
Order
that former
filled.
presidents of both parties have often taken a hostile approach toward whistleblowers. Their disclosures can
Order
embarrass the
submitted.
president and their political party or even lead to a national scandal. But whistleblowers continue to play a vital role during
Order
both Democratic and Republican administrations. They help Congress and the public identify and understand what government corruption looks like. Their disclosures fuel investigations and allow us to address wrongdoing and hold those responsible to account. That's why historically there's been a strong bipartisan consensus in Congress to support and protect whistleblowers. Doing so protects the country and ensures our government is more responsive and accountable to the people. National security whistleblowing in particular is a tradition going back to the founding of our country, and over time, national security whistleblowers and their disclosures have impacted some of the most fundamental issues and questions about how we wish to be governed and how our government can better serve its people. From the role the U.S. plays around the world to holding powerful actors accountable, government ethics and transparency, human rights and civil liberties, executive branch authority, First Amendment freedoms of speech and dissent, freedom of the press, and the public's interest and right to know.
Fuck.
Despite this invaluable public service, blowing the whistle comes at great personal risk. Whistleblowers risk losing their jobs, careers, livelihoods, and reputations. They can face retaliatory investigations, lawsuits, and even serious criminal charges. And they can endure deep mental, emotional, and psychological harm. All of that risk to speak the truth, to ensure that agencies fulfill their core missions, and that they serve the best interests of the people. Those who retaliate against whistleblowers don't just violate their legal rights, they inflict real harm on our government and betray the public's trust. Targeting whistleblowers instead of the corruption they expose wastes agency resources and further allows that corruption to continue unaddressed. It can instill a chilling effect across an agency, fostering a climate of fear and distrust, quieting dissent and free speech, and deterring potential whistleblowers from coming forward in the future. Whistleblowers are often some of the most dedicated and principled public servants we have because of their willingness to put themselves on the line to do what's right. And Congress has historically supported them, again, on a bipartisan basis, but unfortunately, whistleblowing has increasingly become more politicized, with support for whistleblowers often hinging on which party is in power and which party is politically inconvenienced by the
show us the
misconduct
aliens.
being exposed. But to be clear, targeting whistleblowers individually risks undermining whistleblowing, period. Pogo advises members of Congress on both sides of the aisle to focus on the evidence, not the individual. We will always need whistleblowers to achieve the government that best serves its people, because when people of conscience, integrity, and good character refuse to speak up out of fear, complacency, or self-preservation, and leave corruption to fester behind closed doors, that is probably the most dangerous risk of all. If we are serious about increasing government transparency and restoring the public's trust, we need public servants committed to the truth. Whistleblowers need safe and effective channels to make lawful disclosures.
filled.
They need stronger protections against
America.
retaliation. And when they do face retaliation, they need a
$1,000
fair shot to be
per
made whole.
account on the Apex.
Congress has made strides to pass
600
whistleblower
on all
legislation,
these.
and these laws need to be updated and expanded so that whistleblowers truly receive the protections they need,
Icarus
retaliators
is
are
an
held
alien.
accountable, and we can achieve the type of government the people deserve. We strongly urge Congress to continue its historic tradition of championing the rights and protections of all whistleblowers. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify here this morning. Pogo is committed to working with you and the Oversight Committee to address these critical issues. I look forward to any
All
questions.
right, if we can take out,
Thank
see
you,
this
sir,
little
very much.
pop
Additionally,
right here?
without objection, the
If we could take out 82, this might stage a full recovery.
Additionally, without objection, the following members are waived onto the task force for the purpose of questioning witnesses at today's hearing: Representative Perry of Pennsylvania and Representative Grothman of Wisconsin. Sorry, what is it? Oh, and Representative Biggs from Arizona. I already got you, but yeah, we're good. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes
This
of
might
questioning.
stage a full recovery, folks.
Also, as my friend Mr. Moskowitz might have to go, would you like to go now? Okay, all right. Mr. Borland, in your testimony, you
Anyone buy
described
the dip?
witnessing large triangular craft while stationed at Langley Air Force Base in 2012. Can you explain what you observed in terms of size, behavior, and why you're confident it was not conventional technology?
Great question, ma'am. So on the base, I lived in the barracks. There was a little smoke pit outside. I was there on the telephone and looking across to the flight line, and I see a white light pop up and stop about 100 feet in the air. I thought it was a weather balloon. I've seen tests from there before, weeknight, normal thing, not surprising. I actually finished my cigarette and I began walking up towards the flight line. There is a track, and because I was on 3 months of night work, I would walk the track at night when we were weather down. And as I began walking towards the flight line and the track, the light then flies across the base, across the flight line, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around the light. I can't tell you if it's active camouflage. I can't tell you if it appeared around the light, but I can tell you that it was a white light, and then it was a triangle. It stopped about 100 feet in front of me and approximately 100 feet above me. My telephone got extremely hot, completely froze, dead.
Dude, they're gonna
I
fucking
remember how
full
thick
trip
it
this.
was.
That's
it was
disgusting.
between 1 to 2 stories thick.
This
equilateral
is why
triangle.
trading
I could
sucks
never see
ass.
the top of
They're
it,
gonna
and
fucking
the
full trip
edges
this.
were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total, 1 light on each corner, and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. But what was really odd was the outside. The best way to describe it is like looking at a James Webb telescope picture, where you have the colors and then the black background. So the craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold, lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft. I'm under this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then the center light flashes 2 to 3 times, no sound, immediately shoots up to commercial jet level minimum, in my opinion. And I immediately feel static electricity all over my body, and then I smell the smell of after a thunderstorm or lightning storm.
Cigarette
that
equals meth.
really strong summer thunderstorm smell. Gets up to flight level. I'm trying to get my phone reset, and I can only see the center light at this point. If I didn't actually see it take off, I would have thought it was a star. And then it hovers up there, and it begins to slowly move due east out over the Atlantic Ocean. I finally got my phone reset. The entire thing was about, from the time I saw the light pop up near the hangar until it took off out over the ocean, was about 15 minutes.
In following up to that question, after you disclose this information to the Intelligence Community Inspector General, you're subject to phishing attempts and job blacklisting. How widespread do you think this is across the intelligence community for those who raise concerns regarding UAP programs?
It's a difficult question to answer. I think prior to David Grush and people beginning this process of bringing people into awareness of the reality of these programs and certain things people have witnessed, probably extremely widespread. I think today there's still an issue, but because people are able to come before you and people are speaking out, I think it has been somewhat less. I would hope, though, that people would, because if this goes back into closed doors, this is going to get really ugly.
What type of behavior have you witnessed from former Aero Director Sean Kilpatrick as well as his staff in relate to this information you provided to them? Did they ever try to classify this information as non-human technology?
Good question. The problem with this is that I know what I experienced firsthand, and I know other things. I think the staff at Aero that I met with in March of 2023, I think they were good people doing the job they were told to do. I did not meet with Kirkpatrick. He was either not present or did not want to meet me that day. However, they did classify information about the reality of this subject, and It was very concerning because in my Aero MFR, they had actually referenced a former staff member that was the one who told me to go there, and they probably shouldn't have done that.
And real quick before my time is up, and we might go to second round of questioning just so you're all aware, how important, given everything that you've seen and experienced, is the UAP Disclosure Act of 2025 in restoring both public accountability and trust?
I think very important. I would hope, though, that the 7-year window could be shrunk, my opinion, but very important. The truth needs to be known.
Thank you very much. I now recognize Jared Moskowitz of Florida.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you for
Order
allowing me to wave on to the committee. I remember, the last committee
Order
when we
submitted.
had a bunch of former military personnel folks that either served on bases, were pilots, or were in different programs experiencing knowledge. It made me recognize that the narrative has changed, right? It's politically convenient for the government if you all weren't military folks in suits. It would be much better if you pulled up in Winnebagos and were wearing hats. And so the picture of this, because that's important for the American people and how you tell a story, what the message looks like, and who the messenger is. So this is now the second or third committee where we have former military folks with impeccable records, with information and knowledge. And it's definitely clear on a bipartisan basis that we have to protect our whistleblowers. There's no doubt. And in a day in which it's really hard to tell what's true or not from a political standpoint. And so I don't really know what is true. I don't know
Order
on this
filled.
subject.
Just got
But I do
another
know
one.
when we're being lied to.
1.3K.
We are definitely being lied to. There's just no doubt about that. Mr. Wiggins, I
what
want to
the
talk
fuck?
to you. I find your background and testimony compelling. When you first saw what you were
Order
looking at,
submitted.
what you were looking at, what were your first
Order
thoughts?
canceled.
Orders got weird.
Order submitted.
Trying
My
to fix
first
it.
thoughts were,
Fuck.
I think everything that I was told and taught as a kid and as growing adult no longer, was applicable if I'm able to see something that I thought
This one's on
defies
me.
gravity
I
in
didn't have
such a
the
way,
exit
then
order
what else
in
could be possible?
when it should have already
That was
hit.
my first thought.
So did you think what you were looking at was a weapons program that you were unaware of, or did you think what you were looking at was obviously some extraterrestrial piece of technology?
Order
I didn't.
canceled.
Neither one of those crossed my mind. It was
Order
just.
submitted.
in
How
the-
about now? What do you think it is now?
I'm not the expert. I think it. I want to be as skeptical as everyone else and just hope to know the information.
Anyone in the U.S. government tell you what you were looking at to try to dissuade you from what you thought it was?
No.
So no one was like, oh, there was some anomaly with the technology. No one from the government did that?
No one.
How do you think you were treated when you
Fuck, that was
reported
really stupid
this
on my
information or have talked about, the Tic Tac video is well out there. It's well reported. How were you treated?
I've had no pushback at all. I haven't had anyone reach out to me or try to, dissuade me in either direction, militarily speaking. So I was treated fair, and I appreciate the Navy itself with assisting me with coming here to being able to testify.
That's good. So what do you think the American people should take away from watching your video, right? Because when we watch it, obviously, right, we've never seen anything like that. It defies what we know to be technologically possible. What are we supposed to think? Someone's lying about something. Someone's hiding something, right? That's
Also
not normal what you looked
Could
at.
be an alien.
I think what the American people
This
should
guy's
think
been
when seeing that
black
video,
the whole time?
along with others before me, is that
Chief
there is
Wiggins.
something out there, and we should know as the people what it is.
Right, and so let's eliminate possibilities. So they didn't come to you and say there was a technological error with what you were looking at. So we put that aside, right? They didn't say it was broken. So we look at that and we see something. So it's either a weapons program being reverse engineered by our governments or other governments, or it's nobody's government, and it's not from here. Those are it. You agree with that assessment?
I agree, one or the other.
Mr. Borland, when you first experienced what you were looking at, and what did you do next? Like, what was your next step
I'd shit
after
my pants.
it had passed and you were done?
I actually kind of laughed to myself and said, okay, so this exists as well. Worked in enough programs, been exposed to enough that I was like, okay, so this is a real thing. I went back, walked the track, talked with a couple of my friends about it. I did talk with some of my coworkers, one in particular, which I thought was a joke, and it definitely wasn't, was like, you probably should never say this to anybody. And then what happened to me happened, so.
What about you, Mr. How do you pronounce your last name?
Nusatelli.
Nusatelli. And sorry, I know I'm running out of time, Madam Chairman. Chairwoman. So obviously your incident happened well before we could record things on cell phones and things of that nature, right? What did you do when you first experienced? Because what you saw, right, you saw it happen like right out of your base.
Correct.
So tell me what you did after you saw that. What was like your next move? And I want to hear what your experience was.
My next move, I went into my house after it left. I made sure no one had been abducted. And I picked up the landline. I called the Security Forces Command Center. I reported it. I requested that they give me a call back and make notifications up the chain of command. I got a call back in about 15 minutes. They reported that the weather station reported no balloons or aircraft.
All right, let's see if we can revisit up here.
No aircraft
84,
inbound or outbound.
followed by
So I got that notification.
89.
And then within the following day or two, me and the other witnesses wrote statements. We prepared a report, and then we filed all that information.
Madam Chairman, thank you for your indulgence in my questioning, and thank you for continuing to lead on this subject. What do you and your friends think about it today? You all have talked about it. Yeah. I mean, so what do you think about your experience as a collective group? That'll be my last question, Madam Chairwoman.
I mean, we've been talking about this for 20 years. We don't know what we saw. What we saw changed our lives and the way we think about everything.
I always think of the SNL skit
profound.
with Ryan Gosling and Kate McKinnon.
The object I saw, I don't even know if it was an object. It was a light. It was an orb. It didn't look like a craft, but it did look solid. And that's what we talk about. We noticed the object, and this was a pattern across all the encounters.
Mag 7 trying to climb up a bit.
They would pay
Spy
attention
as
to
well,
the light.
but maybe tilting right now.
And then the object responds. It performs for you. And then they come down and they investigate you. So it's almost like they're curious. So that's the thing we primarily talk about. Why did it come after we noticed it? Maybe it noticed us after we noticed it. You're welcome.
I now recognize Representative Mace for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank all of our witnesses for being here today.
Took that out.
Mr. Borland, I'd like to start with you and ask a few questions. Were there any other witnesses when you saw the equilateral triangle? Were there other witnesses that saw the same thing?
Not to my knowledge, ma'am. At that point, the only people that would be awake is those of us that were doing operations for the GWAT and then security forces, so not to my knowledge.
And do you think that, in your opinion, that the equilateral triangle was the U.S. government's technology?
I did once upon a time, but knowing what I know now, I'll have to answer that question as skiff, probably.
Well, my next question is, you teased us, so knowing what you know now means what?
I know enough to know that if you want an answer to that question, go to Arrow. They have the answer.
Do you think it was a foreign government?
I do not, no.
And Arrow was supposed to be disclosing. The last time I was in a skiff with Arrow, they said they were going to be doing disclosures. Had they been doing much of that?
I don't have an answer to you for you. I don't know. I know what Arrow reports publicly, and I know what I've been through.
Yeah. And some of this stuff can be, I think, debunked, right? Sometimes there are weather balloons that look kind of a little funky, or drones or whatever, depending on the angle, direction, speed, et cetera. Are you scared for your safety?
That's a complicated question. So being here today, if I say the wrong word, technically I can be charged with espionage. Espionage is a death penalty. Whistleblowers have faced it. John Kiriakou, for example. I am not scared for my physical safety in the sense of a agency or company coming to kill me, but I have no job. My career has been tarnished. You know, I'm unemployed, living off of unemployment for the next 3-4 weeks until that's gone. So it's a complicated question.
Have there been stories leaked about your life to try to discredit you in the public eye?
As of now, I don't know.
We know they did that to Mr. Grush.
I am aware. Yes, ma'am.
They leaked his private medical information, horrific things.
It is.
Okay, you said in your testimony earlier with the chairwoman, you know other things. I guess that has to be mentioned in a skiff.
It would.
The other things.
It would, pending I'm even legally allowed to speak on, and the people in the room are even legally allowed to hear it.
And is that, would we need to know the compartmentalized word, like what the code word is, or the name of the program, the special access program, in order to even hear it? You have to know the word, right?
I would suggest
the name of it, right?
I would suggest that to be asked to DNI Gabbard and work with her for that, because I can't give you the answer on what is the requirement.
But this is what the U.S. government does, right? They compartmentalize the information. Only certain people know the name of the program, and if you don't know it, you can't get the information. If you don't have the name, you don't know what to ask for. Even when we're reviewing the budget, we go into a skiff, we look at DOD budget and the budget of like black box programs, and we don't know what we're looking at because we don't know what these programs are. Is it a way for the government to hide from Congress what's really going on and where the money's going?
In my opinion, absolutely, yes.
We might have higher highs and higher lows
You mentioned
now.
too in your testimony earlier that, quote, you went to speak with the government and they said somebody's name, a colleague's name, and you said they shouldn't have mentioned that staff person's name. What does that mean?
A Senate staffer who is the one who helped me get to Arrow recommended me I go there, gave me the email and the phone number because I could not find that information at all at the time. In fact, I believe you guys have talked about how Arrow didn't even have a website for quite a period of time.
We were told they were going to do disclosures, both what they've debunked, because some of it can be debunked, and then what they haven't been able to debunk. And to my knowledge, it hasn't been a thing. I only have 1 minute left, so Mr. Knapp, we were definitely going to you. Watched every documentary. You guys have done you and Jeremy have done a terrific job. I usually have more questions than I have answers. I think we all do, and you guys are doing a terrific job to bring information to the public. Do you think that any of this is a psyop by the U.S. government?
Entirely possible. I mean, our government and other governments have admitted that they've tried to use UFOs to cover secret projects. But I think they also do some reverse engineering of those claims. So years after people start seeing UFOs over Area 51, for example, they come up with the story, oh yeah, that was, we planted that story. So I read in a major newspaper just a couple of weeks ago, they planted this story. An Air Force colonel went out into the desert, went to a bar at Rachel, and gave them some fake UFO photos. And that's how the whole story about Area 51 started, which is preposterous.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to the crash retrieval program stuff yet, Ms. Chairwoman. There's just so much. Okay, thank you so much for your time today. I wish we had more time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very quickly before the next person, don't forget right now, we're in the golden age of SIMDA-funded prop trading, and Tradeify is running a big deal, 30% off. Use that code Goonie, pinned to the top of chat in the description of the video. But I want to let you know why I'm really talking about it today is they just changed a lot of their platform. Update number 1, no more waiting around. We've officially removed the minimum trading days for the payouts. If you look at update number 2, bigger payouts faster. We boosted payout amounts on growth and advanced counts, so that's a big change. These all got announced yesterday. Consistency just got easier with Lightning funded. That's like basically you're funded right out of the gate. The consistency percentages are lower as you go. So they just made some big changes. They were all announced yesterday. So Tradeify, like I said, and actually DLL is now dynamic, so the daily loss limit, as your account grows, you actually get more of a DLL. So these were all big changes just announced yesterday, and like I said, we are in the golden age of SIMDA funded. Now that there's so many more, there's so much more competition for what's going on, so they all have to have better offerings for all of us. So right now, if you want to take advantage of the new setup for Tradeify, like I said, use that code Goonie, 30% off, and obviously you could go to their Twitter account if you want to see what all these new rules are, pinned to the top of chat in the description of the video. All right, back to the aliens.
Generally speaking, we would advise this Congress to ensure that agencies adopt general policy in favor of disclosure instead of a knee-jerk needing to overclassify information in documents. We should
Order
ensure
submitted.
that when information is classified or deemed sensitive, it's only for legitimate national security and privacy concerns. And we would recommend adding additional factors to the considerations of cost, value, and certainly to the
I'm looking
extent
for
that
recovery up
it's,
to this
critical
11
for
a.m.
the
high
public
here.
interest
Potential
and
high
the
or
public's
low
right to know, especially
being put in
when
as
we are
we
talking
speak.
about these very serious
Spy kind of grinding
national
up.
security
Max
concerns
having
and
kind
implications.
of grinding up.
Can you speak to how whistleblowers have historically helped Congress uncover the truth in other areas and how that might apply here?
Absolutely. So again, Congress has always relied on whistleblowers coming forward and making disclosures in a number of different issues across different agencies, anything from national security to airline safety, railway safety, environmental concerns, workplace health and safety, a lot of issues coming out of the COVID pandemic, for example. Whistleblowers have come forward with important disclosures on just about any critical issue affecting our government and affecting the American people, all of which have grave implications for the rights and protections that we have and how we live our lives in communities across the country.
There's a big
How
iron
important is
condor
it
on
for
right now.
whistleblowers to have strong?
There's a giant iron condor on right now. The call credit spread side is 6540. The put credit spread is 6445. So it's almost actually spread. It's spread by 95 points, but these are huge. 36,000 for the put credit spread and 26,000 for the call credit spread. If you don't know what an iron condor is, it's a combination of a call credit spread and a put credit spread. It is a 4-option setup, and basically they want it to close below the call strike and above the put strike, so they want it in between this zone. That's where this player would make the most money. Below 6540 and above 6445, they want it in this area, and that's where they get their max profit.
Reporting, when there is trust in the independence of agency watchdogs like inspectors general, like the Office of Special Counsel, like the Merit Systems Protection Board, that play critical roles in investigating whistleblower disclosures and enforcing the protections of whistleblowers. All of that is essential to allow whistleblowers to keep coming forward and playing these incredibly important public roles.
Thank you so much. Let me just say this. People look at Congress, especially now, and they see a lack of unity. They don't see the ability for us to come together really on much of anything. I will say that I do applaud the chairwoman and the work of this committee, because for once I feel like we are focusing on governing, which should be about transparency. The reality is that we cause more harm than good when we allow a lack of transparency to fester. It allows for all types of conspiracy theories instead of us actually making the investments that we need to make to get the information and actually provide it to the American people. The reason that I wanted to focus on making sure that we answer some questions specifically around the protections of those that are willing to come forward is because the only way that we can make this government actually work for all of us
Crockett on this?
is if no matter where you are in this federal government, you feel as if you are safe when you come forward with information of any issue. And so I do want to thank you for all of your stories. The reality is that we only get 5 minutes, and the vast majority of everything that you have to say cannot be contextualized within 5 minutes. But I know that my colleagues are going to get to kind of pulling some more of that out. But again, I really just want to thank you for your courage in this moment, and thank you for your service to our country.
I now recognize Mr. Burchett from Tennessee for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Lady, and thank you, Ranking Member Crockett. I see a lot of friends out there, and I see a couple enemies, so I'll try to remember that. But it's a pleasure being here. I want to remind people, too, this thing is an ongoing deal. We're not going to get this overnight. We've been fighting this battle, some of y'all, for 30 years and maybe longer. I hope we just keep focused on what we're trying to get to is total disclosure. We get a little wrapped up in a lot of things, but the government has something, and they need to turn it over to us. We pay their dadgum salary, you pay our salary, and you ought to get more out of us than you do. And that's what disgusts me about this whole thing. I think they're just trying to run the clock out on us, really. They'll poke us a little, and they'll make jokes to us and try to pull us off the target, but I think we know where we're at, and that's why they're firing at us, because we are over the target. My first question is, Mr. Knapp, I recently introduced the UAP Whistleblower Protection Act to help provide whistleblower protection to federal personnel for disclosing the use of federal taxpayer funds to investigate UFOs. I still don't want to say UAPs. How can Congress further increase whistleblower protections?
I think you got to unleash the dogs and go track down the money and where it goes, because a lot of this stuff has been moved out of government.
Sure.
As you know, Rep. Burchett, it's been given to private contractors who've stashed it away. They've had it for so long that there's nobody left inside government, or very few, who know where it is.
And they do that to keep us from FOIA, correct?
Yeah, it's to keep it from FOIA. And I think that the contractors who've had this stuff for a very long time set their own standards about who is allowed to know what. And it's a very small group that ever cracks that. I think Representative Luna has been looking at the use of classifications to hide things. I'm not sure that even this committee getting security clearances that should allow you to see this stuff would allow you to follow where it really goes.
I worry about the people that are looking at it and don't even know what they're looking at. I mean, it's gone through so many, since Roswell, for instance. I mean, you think there's nobody even alive that was around any of that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think they've made much progress from the people that I've talked to. I don't think they've made much progress in learning that technology. Might have made some, but you wonder, the implication is tic-tac. Oh, yeah, that's ours. What flew over Washington, D.C. in '52, is that ours too? When are you going to break that out? You guys authorized tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on weapon systems that can't do half of what we've seen UFOs do. So when do they break this out? If it's really a classified project could change the world. I don't think they've made much progress, and I think they've been lying to us and to you and the rest of the world, and they're still doing it.
Yes, sir, I agree with you. How did you manage to obtain the classified Russian UAP documents, and how did you get them back in the United States?
Well, I met this Russian physicist who was in the United States lecturing.
And I want to clarify that. I can't even take a thing of honey home on my airplane when I fly back to Tennessee.
Yeah,
so
I did something pretty dumb.
And I'm bitter about it, but go ahead.
I did something kind of dumb. I met with these officials who, during that time period, glasnost, perestroika, the Russians were trying to open up to the world, and I saw it as a window of opportunity, and it was. And we were able to talk these folks into providing us information that otherwise we would never have seen. Some of that was classified. I found out that they only stamped the top pages of these documents that were classified, so I just removed them. I removed those pages, and I carried them out. And if they'd caught me, I'd be in a gulag still.
Yeah. We'd be saying, what happened to George Knapp?
He's like, not top secret anymore.
What happened to the Russians that came forward to you in 1993, and were there any repercussions for them?
Well, there were. The first thing that happened when I talked about this after getting back and going through the files and things and sifting through it, the Russian physicist who had helped us introduced all these people wrote back and said there was a huge eruption, that there was the real right, far autocratic forces that wanted a return of the USSR had really go after these guys. They described them as traitors. Nikolai Kapranov, the physicist friend of mine, said, look, if this had happened 5 years earlier, we would be in prison. If it had happened 10 years earlier, we would have been shot. Right. Luckily, at that point, Putin was not in power, but none of those people that we talked to on that trip in 1993 would ever talk to me again. I went back in 1996, and it was like I had the plague. I spoke to different people, but they were scared. And eventually, the story was spun where the Ministry of Defense officials who gave us this information were described as ufologists who said there was nothing really significant to these files. They didn't really find anything a big deal. And I can tell you, you'll see those files that I shared with you, they did find stuff. There was an incident in October of 1982 over an ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, United States. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart, they fuse back together, they'd appear and disappear. And right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes. The missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and they could not shut it down. The Russian officers were panicking.
Dude,
the UFOs
alien.
they disappeared. The launch control system goes back to normal. Colonel Sokolov and his team came in, took the thing apart, could not figure out what it was. It wasn't a power surge or EMPs or some of the baloney excuses that our country has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. They thought it was a message from wherever the UFOs were from. And that's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it.
All right, I'm out of time, but real quick, who are the contractors that have this material, the corporations?
Well, one of them is Lockheed. And I'll tell you, I mean, I'm not saying Lockheed's the bad guys. They're doing what they were asked to do.
Sure.
They have lied about this because that's what they're supposed to do. But Lockheed would be one. There's a list I can give you, Congressman. Some of the big ones, the usual suspects.
Okay, thank you. Yield back, Chair Lady. Sorry for going over.
It's all good.
It's all George Knapp's fault.
I now recognize Ms. Boebert for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Boebert?
Chief Wiggins,
Did they
based
get
on
the
your training
who's who
and
of
operational
political people on
experience,
this?
could the behavior that you witnessed, a transmedium object vanishing without a sound, be explained by any known technology that we possess or other governments possess?
It cannot. No.
And has any government agency debriefed you or any of your shipmates regarding the EOIR and radar confirmed UAP encounter aboard USS Jackson?
No one has, no, ma'am.
What was that encounter like when you brought that up? If you want to briefly summarize that, when you brought that to their attention and then you were not provided any follow-up, who was told and how did you feel when there was no contact back to you?
As far as the actual incident happening
Yes,
or
sir.
the reporting level?
Yes, Chief.
It was within the event happening. My duties are to report to the tactical action officer on watch while we're standing watch. So tactical action officer was there.
Spies almost back
I
to
made my
being green
report.
on the day.
I've not had any
Fucking wild.
discussion outside
Wild.
of that day. There's been no communication to me or requests from me within inside of the military. But speaking of that actual incident itself, once the report was made to the tactical action officer, that's when I made the decision to ask the individual watchstander that was controlling Sapphire to be able to slew into the location. And that's what you see in the video itself is when the watchstander is slewing in and kind of showing us what we're looking at. But outside of that, that's as far as the reporting went that I know of.
Thank you, Chief. Just for the sake of time, Mr. Nusatelli, has RO, the Air Force, or the FBI ever followed up with you personally about the Red Square event?
I did have follow-up by Aero, nothing with the Air Force. The Aero office updated me, I think, at least 2 times. They let me know that they were unable to locate any records, that the records had been destroyed by the Air Force. The Air Force is destroying all their police records every 3 years on a schedule. So
You were informed that these documents were destroyed.
Well, I have a Freedom of Information Act from the Air Force that states clearly that they destroy all police records on a 3-year schedule.
Okay. So they were sitting on documentation, destroyed it, refused to question any of the lead investigators, anything leading into this investigation?
Yeah, basically, they destroyed all the police records. So you couldn't even, call the Air Force and ask them if there was a vehicle accident in that time frame. So that's a big
Potentially
problem.
an alien.
We're losing data in real time.
50-50 shot
so
on
we'll
this
never
one.
be able to go back and
I
track.
think our federal government has a history of destroying records. Thank you very much, Mr. Nusatelli. Dr. Borland, as a geospatial intelligence officer, Have you seen classified data indicating UAPs operate in restricted U.S. airspace? And has that information been withheld from Congress?
I have not in U.S. airspace. That is intelligence oversight, so I did not have domestic authorities.
After filing your Inspector General complaint over retaliation inside the Pentagon's UAP office, did you receive any kind of protection or
IWM's
just more
climbing up
retaliation?
nicely.
Within the IG or Arrow, ma'am?
Either.
Arrow, they went after the staff member and classified everything, shut that down. The IG, to this day, I don't even know if my complaint's active. I know my attorney that represented me was very, very, very concerned. And the best of my understanding, I was determined credible, not urgent.
And do you think that that experience would suggest that the internal UAP investigations may be compromised?
Possibly. I mean, it's so hard because this goes back to people doing the job they're told to do, and very few people are going to want to give up their careers, 20, 30-year pension, get rid of their kids' health care, get rid of their house. It's possible, yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Borland. Mr. Spielberger, do national security whistleblowers currently have any external appeals processes to challenge retaliation, or are they just stuck relying on the same agencies that they're accusing?
Congresswoman, this is one of the biggest concerns that we at POGO have, basically around the independence of investigations and accountability for retaliation. Basically, yes, national security whistleblowers have to rely on internal administrative processes that go through agency inspector generals. There are some differentiations, but the bottom line is that they are forced to rely on protection from the same agencies and people who they are alleging retaliated against them.
Yes. Well, I thank you all for your bravery. We are out of time here. Thank you so much for coming forward, and we will do everything that we can to ensure that you are all protected. Thank you for trying to bring truth and transparency to the American people. Madam Chair, I yield.
I now recognize Mr. Burleson for about 5 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. It takes such great courage to come forward, and we acknowledge that, and I hope that you see that we are taking that seriously. And so very thankful for what you're doing today. I'm also very thankful for previous witnesses that have come forward. I see Matthew Brown in the audience. He courageously stepped forward and was as a witness. I encourage everybody to look and seek his testimony. I want to thank the people that came in our first hearing: Ryan Graves, David Grush, David Fravor. And in our second hearing, Admiral Gallaudet, Lou Elizondo, and Mr. Gold. And the many others that have come forward. We hear you, and it's time that we, enough is enough. It's time that we take action. Look, I'm not jumped to the conclusion that I believe that there are, aliens coming from another planet. But I'm open to that. And I think that it's our responsibility, especially when we're seeing that we have a government that is actively blocking information from us. Just last night, I tried to get an amendment onto the National Defense Authorization Act that fit in.
Very obviously an alien, brother. Like, you're not even fucking trying with your camouflage. Like, come on. We might have been born at night, but we were not born last night. This motherfucker's been an alien since the word go. Come on.
By someone.
I don't know if I believe in aliens.
From being able to receive a full briefing from Arrow. So not an elected official, but someone in staff blocked us. And I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a video that I've been given.
Sure you have, buddy.
Before it starts, I'm going to describe. This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. You cannot see that drone.
Submitted.
And so, I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does.
Fuck. Wrong one. Sorry, I forgot to show this to you. I was looking at a different monitor. I don't know, man. I don't know if I find this shit compelling.
This is when it zoomed out, so you can still see it traveling. So, Mr. Knapp,
This guy's showing us his
do you
house.
have you heard about
what's that?
Events like this occurring? And what information might you have?
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally, some of that stuff gets out in the wild, and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. And why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
So
flies like that?
again, I'm not going to speculate what it is, but the question is, why are we being blocked from this information consistently? I want to ask this just question: how in the world? This is the document. I want to enter this in for the record if it hasn't already been entered, Madam Chair. The document that you provided on thread 3. This is a huge file. How in the world did you smuggle this out of Russia?
Carefully.
In your socks?
I don't think I want to be really specific about it because I might have to go back there and get some more sometime. Although, no, that'd be crazy to do that. Well, I took the top pages off that were stamped with a security signature, and I carried them out on my person. But the rest of them, I just threw in my suitcase and threw some caviar in there as a distraction as well, and hoped for the best. Otherwise, I'd be a citizen of Siberia right now.
And you had you reported James Lakatsky came to you with government possession of NHI craft and how they ultimately gained entry. Can you testify to the veracity of that claim?
Dr. Lakatsky is an honorable man who served most of his career with the DIA, a very trusted, high-level rocket scientist and intelligence analyst who inspired the OSAP program, as I said earlier. And in full disclosure, I've co-written 2 books with him. He dropped this on myself and our other co-author out of the blue. And it took 14 months for us to get DOPSR approval for him to release 2 sentences on that. He said this craft, we had managed to get inside of it. It had no wings, no rotor, no tail. It had no fuel tanks. They didn't know how it flew or how it was operated. It clearly looked like it was aerodynamic, but he would not go further. He's a by-the-book guy, and until he gets clearance to say more about that, I don't think we're going to hear much more. But it's not ours. It wasn't ours. We didn't make it. We didn't know who made it and how it was built and how it operated. We've got at least one, and I don't know. I think that's enough confirmation that we do have recovered disks and materials.
Lastly, Mr. Borland, in the classified realm, have you been exposed to undeniable confirmation of NHI technology? And then my second question is Base Systems involved in any way with reverse engineering exploitation of non-human intelligence craft?
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a conversation this Skip for that. Whether I'm legally even allowed to answer that, and whether you're even allowed to hear it, sir.
Okay.
You're not
Again,
important enough,
you can
Mr.
sense
Alien.
our frustration. And so I just want to thank you for coming forward. We will continue to fight because, look, this is about making sure that this government belongs to the people and restoring the republic the way it was intended to be. Madam Chair, I also have further witnesses of courageous individuals. It was given to me by Dr. Stephen Greer, including Michael Herrera and his testimony. We have Roderick Castle and his testimony, Randy Anderson, his testimony, Stephen Digna, and others, 3 others, all saying similar things to what the witnesses today have said, and I would like to enter that into the record as well.
No objection.
Thank you.
I now recognize Representative Lee for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we need to make sure that we don't get distracted by sensational stories only of unidentified anomalous phenomena and lose track of what the core of this hearing is about. This is all a perfect example of why whistleblowers are so important and why it's so important that we step up and protect them. With Trump, RFK Jr., EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, and others committed to dismantling government and firing professionals who do dare to speak out against the threats this administration's disastrous policies create, we have to focus on protecting all whistleblowers, not only the ones who are reporting on UAP. I'd like to thank the whistleblowers who have agreed to come before the committee today and speak their truth. This administration's claims to care about waste, fraud, and abuse, and so often it is the whistleblowers who care and who are the tip of the sword fighting against the real waste, fraud, and abuse. One study found that whistleblowers expose fraud at more than twice the rate of third-party auditors. So, Mr. Spielberger, what are some of the best examples of whistleblowers exposing fraud and abuse in the federal government?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Again, whistleblowers have played such a vital role across so many different issues. One prominent example goes back to the 2014 VA waitlist scandal. POGO actually played a very instrumental role coordinating with Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. At that time, we received tips and whistleblower disclosures from over 800 different individuals talking about the VA subjecting veterans to extensive wait times in order to get the basic standard of care that they deserve. It certainly prolonged serious illnesses, even contributing to hastened deaths, and we were able to help shed more light on that issue, which I think just emphasizes the importance, even outside of the national security context. We are often still talking about serious issues and even life and death concerns.
And unfortunately, whistleblowing can lead to serious repercussions and retaliation, especially in this vindictive and lawless administration. Mr. Spielberger, in the past, what kinds of retaliation have they faced, and what are we seeing today under the Trump administration?
So we've certainly heard about a number of different examples of retaliation. One that I'd like to highlight that Mr. Borland referenced previously is retaliation through abuse of the security clearance process. That can have grave implications not just for a whistleblower, but also their ability to seek legal counsel and defend themselves against retaliation. And when we look at the past several months of this administration, unfortunately, we've seen a really systematic approach toward dismantling the nonpartisan civil service. We've seen the mass firings. We've seen undermining of independent agency watchdogs, mass firings of inspectors general, undermining the Office of Special Counsel, the Merit Systems Protection Board. Again, these entities that are meant to be independent and play a critical role in investigating whistleblower disclosures and ensuring that their rights are protected.
Yeah. Thank you. In 1989, Congress passed the Whistleblower Protection Act and then broadened it again in 2012 to ensure that federal workers could feel free to come forward to their elected officials. And it's a good thing we did, because whistleblowers have played a more important role than ever since Trump has taken office. It was thanks to a whistleblower that we learned that DOJ allegedly put every single American's personal security information at risk by bypassing safeguards and copying all this data to an unsecure server. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a New York Times article titled, quote, "DOJ put critical Social Security data at risk," whistleblower says.
Good to go.
Thanks. We've had whistleblowers at the National Labor Relations Board reveal that DOJ minions may have shipped case files outside of the agency, possibly to help then co-president Elon Musk continue to exploit his workers. And last week, whistleblowers at the National Institute of Health came forward to say that RFK Jr.'s vaccine misinformation campaign had pervaded even the highest levels of the agency. Typically, whistleblowers have an inspector general they can rely on to investigate their claims and register issues with agency leadership, but President Trump has fired or demoted over 20 inspectors general. If I may ask one more question, Mr. Spielberger, can you explain how eroding the independence and capabilities of inspectors general further endanger these whistleblowers?
Absolutely. So again, whistleblowers already face incredibly great challenges in coming forward under normal circumstances. And when we erode these entities that are expected and required to enforce whistleblower protections, fairly investigate their disclosures. It calls into question the integrity of their investigations and findings, whether they'll take whistleblowers seriously when they come forward, and whether we can trust that they will use their authority to enforce the protections of whistleblowers who do come forward. Essentially, whether they will continue in their role as an independent watchdog or basically become a lapdog for a current or future president.
Thank you. And I will take no more liberties. I yield back.
Thank you. I now recognize Mr. Crane for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman, for holding this hearing. Thank you to the witnesses for appearing. In the effort of transparency here, I got to admit to the witnesses that, growing up, I really never believed in UFOs or any of this stuff. I always thought it was a little kooky and whatnot. But, after hearing, your testimony from honorable service members, watching videos like my...
All right, this is getting boring. So here's what's going on with the market. We were flat, we dumped, we bounced back up to a point of equilibrium, aka yesterday's closing value, clearly got rejected. We have not made a lower low yet, but the Qs are about to, or they're very close to. So both of them vomited basically to their low from yesterday, and then abruptly bounce back to the closing value from yesterday. And right now we're wondering which way is it going to break. Are we putting in a higher low and we're going to take out the close from yesterday and push to the high? Or is this just going to end up being a lower high and we vomit through yesterday's close? That's what you have to pay attention to, which is actually why over lunch, whatever the depth of this next low is, this pullback that we're currently witnessing, is going to be very, very, very important. So highly recommend paying attention to that. The Mag 7 is kind of bleeding off. The SPY, it got completely hit. It popped, giving a little bit back now, but could be a higher low here. So we're kind of in that awkward like lunch session. Remember, if you want to check out what's going on with the sitting buy orders and sell orders, this is called Bookmap. It's pinned to the top of chat. It's in the description of the video. And right now, Tradeify is running a pretty crazy deal after updating a lot of the rules. Remember that code Goonie will currently get you 30% off. So right now, we might get a double bottom here. We might be able to take this one out. Is that what's going on? Are we taking out this recent high? Is it going to keep pushing here? It might. It might. Interesting. Well, I'm looking for a potential double bottom. You'd have confirmation if it takes out this recent high at 1120 and then pushes the closing value. And then obviously on the SPY, you wanted to take out the recent high, which is also the closing value. So that's going to be the pivotal mark. Obviously, here's the options flow, nothing too crazy. I should let you know that large players are today currently net sellers after being net buyers for 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row. Thus far, the major news of the day does relate to the fact that the jobs revisions were just horrible. It was a drop of 911,000, which is just, that's astonishing. It's absolutely astonishing that the numbers were that wrong and that bad. It truly, truly, truly blows my mind. All right, well, folks, that is what's going on right now. I appreciate all the good vibes. I'm going to go hang out in the Goonie Trading Discord. Be there if you want to join up. Happy to have you. Other than that, we'll be posting an update video later on today. Don't forget to turn on your notifications after you subscribe. It'll go up on both Rumble and YouTube. And then we'll be streaming tomorrow morning. Don't forget PPI report coming out early on. Stick to your trading plan. Don't overtrade. Don't over leverage. Stick to exactly what you know you should be doing. It will lead you to the promised land. That's what I have for you right now. I'll catch you guys later. Best of luck. Peace.
Over Washington, D.C.